That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit. Well, hello, everybody. How are you guys out there in YouTube land? Got a bunch of you guys waiting in chat tonight, and there's a guest waiting in the waiting room tonight. Unlike Friday, when Mr. Ozzy was unfortunately unable to make it. Sorry about that, guys. Kind of a bummer, but honestly, I needed the extra time to finish what I was working on Friday. So I was working on getting some products ready for my very first Reef Aquarium show. It did not go well. I did not sell a single thing, but I gave out a ton of cards and a ton of stickers and made a bunch of custom contact clients. But it's no big deal. We really just went to show the product and just try to like get it out there because very few people are working with what we're working with here. So having said that, sorry about Friday night, but we really, truly needed the break. I'll give it to you guys that were back and forth earlier today. Yeah, Shane's, I don't know why your comment and Shane's comment went away, but Shane was the first one to log into this thing today. But tonight, Lindsay Wickenheiser of Pico Pythons, only 87 minutes early. Clearly, I'm excited for this. Apparently, you are extremely excited for this, and I'm glad you were here 87 minutes early, and I hope you're still here. Forward Motion's here. Shane beat him and said I was the first here, like at 1 o'clock this afternoon or midnight. I don't know, whatever I did yesterday, whenever I actually planned that this, laid this whole podcast thing out. Mr. Ron, BBM Reptiles. Hey, guys, this reminds me, I uploaded almost 17 fucking hours of this shit to the podcast host on Sunday. We finally got all of our billing stuff straight with Libsyn. Fucking crazy shit. My credit card was on file. Everything was great. And it was the same card. And the card got updated with the new expiration date. And apparently it fucking threw Libsyn's server thing off like on a crash course. Like I kept paying for it. And it kept giving me space. And every time I would upload, it would tell me I didn't have any space. And for fucking like 3 weeks. So finally got a hold of the right person over there to figure out what the fuck was going on with my account. And we got it straight. And we dumped 1,500 megs of MP3s on the server on Sunday. Maxed out the account. Maxed out the 1,500 meg account. And then I still have like 6 more hours to go, guys. So I think I might just go ahead and up it to the 3,000 meg account for just a month just to dump all these out, and then I'll just downgrade it next time around. For anybody that cares, though, BBM Reptiles, Mr. Ron Heisenberg himself, and the lovely sounds of crickets and frogs and hurricane generators and such in the background can be heard on the Ballsh podcast official audio versions that now we are almost caught up on. So if you are cleaning cages this week and you find yourself with nothing informative to listen to, and you haven't listened to all of this shit lately that we've been putting down with these people, go fucking listen. I mean, that was like 8 episodes or whatever. All right. So Quirky, nice to see you. Gray Family Snakes, good to see you too. Strange, another sponsor in the house. Will's Hella Heat. Did you see the work Sean did on Shane's logo? It looks pretty nice. Yeah, I actually was like throwing some ideas around, and you know what's cool about Shane's logo is there's 2 dots. There's 2 weird dots, and I'm not sure what graphic designer put the 2 black dots in there and why, other than the fact that it just made the logo look a little fancier. But what we're going to do is, and if it's all right with Shane, we're going to make this sign a 3-dimensional sign, and it's actually going to have standoffs. That way he can put LED lights behind the snake part of his logo when he gets it, because he's going to paint it all himself. I'm just going to ship off the kit to him. And I can do that guy for you guys too. You know, I can ship it off in a kit. So totally can do that. Strange, you have a logo that's made for signs like this. So does Shane Kelly. The ones of you that do not have signs like this, there's Shane Kelly's logo right there. If you guys are wondering, see those 2 black dots right there? those would be perfectly located for standoffs. So Shane, I resized this to where those two black dots would be exactly 3/4 of an inch so that it would be in proportion when you use 3/4 of an inch black standoffs. And I ordered the standoffs to send along with the sign for you being such an awesome sponsor of the Ballsh podcast. So thanks again for having some faith in me for doing that. Reptile, good to see you. Gilly, good to see you. Marshall, my good old pal, been tuning into all of these shows lately. Thanks a lot, Marshall, for coming by. Cuddle Time, always. Everybody loves the name Cuddle Time, too. I don't know. I think they're all creeps, and I think that's why. Where are we at? Man, you guys got a lot of fucking people in here tonight, huh? Look at that, 35. I'm going to keep going. Who else is here? Ryan's Exotic Pythons, CRM, Aaron Barbosa's in the house, Julie B in the house, B Giles in the house, Pikeline. Jesus Christ, I got to keep going screen after screen. Dude, I should let you do this screen here. Jessica, they're not here for me. I never have to roll through this many new people. They're here for you. And I want to know this. Which one of you 36 motherfuckers are not subscribed to the Holdback Rack Podcast? Because we were just having a conversation about that. Lucas, Landon, Royals, yo, what's up? Pravada, yo, what's up? Savages, another sponsor in the house. Heathen Hatchery in the house. Is that it? Is that unique over with? If I missed you, I'm sorry, but you guys got me going. Let me go over here and jump on this this share screen button. Let me see here. Hold on. Give me a second. Old Norton was in the way. And fucking antivirus in the way. All right, here we go. Ready? That's the bullshit screen. Here we go. Sponsor number 1, Reptiles to you. Go jump on that motherfucker and type in BALL in caps 0922 at checkout for an additional 20% off of your stuff. Quirky, I don't know if I shouted out to you, but yeah, I might have missed you. But if I didn't, you got doubled. But back to Reptiles to you. Ball 0922 at checkout gets you 20% off the already great price on there for the very best agents in the shipping business. Just do it on a day you have a lot of shit, okay? Do it on a day you got a lot of shipments to go out because it's not 20% off one. It's 20% off all of them that day. Reptiles of all kinds and amphibians, of course, on MorphMarket. When are we going to start seeing more shit on MorphMarket that isn't just the livestock? Maybe soon. I know they keep talking about adding like a rack section, cages and feeders and things like that. But hey, guys, I know I mentioned it on the last show. If you haven't listened to Chris Eaton's interview with these guys from Rare Genetics, I would so do that because it was very informative and interesting and exciting for the future of reptiles. And MorphMarket is in bed with them on that. Sea serpents, reptiles, and rack systems and incubators. See, that's how old of a sponsor he is of mine. When he used to actually sell reptiles along with the cages and shit. When it was sea serpents, reptiles, and rack systems. And it's not that anymore. It's sea serpents, rack systems, and hotbox incubators. And that's pretty much it. Because he doesn't have time to take care of any animals that don't work for him. Exotics by nature, that's me. We have plenty of time to take care of animals that both work for us and live here. So go check us out. We've been adding more and more and more and more. 171 corn snakes. I don't know how many Jessica's got for sale over there, but I got a lot. US ARC. If you don't know what they are, you're living under a fucking rock, and it's a rock you need to get out from under because we need you behind the fight. Go join the Reptile Nation and fight for your rights for US ARC. I'm hopefully with the winter weather coming in, getting a little closer to being able to paint up a massive amount of these US ARC signs that you've seen me start to work on. And the popular people out there, you know who you are. You've already asked me about them. You are on my list. I have not lost that list. I do know where you are and who you are. And you are going to get a sign. Don't you worry. If you want to paint your own sign, you can get it even faster. Just DM me. Sponsors for the show, Infinite Possible Pythons, Mr. Nathan Granoff. Check him out. John Woodruff, Mad River. I know he wants me to do some signage and stuff like that, but that logo is really challenging. I got to get out the airbrush and the bill by the hour for that logo. Reptile Collective, another great logo. I can't wait the laser when he hires me to do so. Savages, you know what? I knocked you for your logo. I knocked you for your shading, but I'm honestly decent enough with an airbrush now that I could probably fucking do a shitty job of it. And then you can just tell people you did it, Ricky, because you're a tattooist and an airbrush looks like a tattoo machine. It just doesn't work exactly like a tattoo machine. Shane Kelly, he just got a new tattoo on his arm. Where's his armband? You didn't post that on your Small Town Exotics page there, bro. He's got his Celtic wristband he just got, I saw. But he's about to get a new sign for his spiffy shop to show off some of these amazing reptiles and also show off his awesome US Arc sign that he has. The Strange, Joshua Strange, awesome guy. Not much else I could say about Josh Strange other than he's just an awesome sponsor. I love having him. Bravo Zulu, you are up. Look, I yanked all of the logos off this week's show just because I said I was going to redo them, and I still haven't figured out the best way to redo them where I don't look like shit. But Bravo Zulu is the newest sponsor of the Off Topic Tuesday shows and the rest of the channel, really, because I'm always going to blast out all of you guys all of the time. So let me know if anybody out there wants to get on this sponsor bandwagon, because I've got some ideas. All right? Give me a shout. And on the next run, we got Hare Hollow Farm. I'm going to bring her in, dial that out, bring this up. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I hope I sound better now. I had to restart at like 2 minutes before show because she said I was choppy. So hopefully I'm better.
You've been pretty good. You're a little blurry now, but that's okay.
It's probably going to stack up, but it is what it is. I still have not done the super responsible thing of running a wired connection to this room yet. I'm still running on a Wi-Fi connection, but I'm also not trying to stream from
in 1080p.
I'm still streaming 1080p, but I'm not trying to stream from something like a mirrorless camera or something. You know what I mean? Something that I think would probably be a little more than this Brio.
Right. Yeah, I don't even try to stream in 1080p because nobody really wants to look at us in that high of a definition.
You're probably right. I just was like, I'm gonna do it and just see how it goes. And then now I will tell you this: the times that I have hooked up that Sony A7 IV in here and looked at myself, I'm a lot younger with a Brio. I'm a fuck of a lot younger with a Brio.
Shane the shirt. I'm finally repping.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Right.
Yep, he's repping the shirt. There you go, Small Town. I hope I have a shirt after I ship off a sign. So yeah, nice shirt. Elevated Morphs, good to have you here. Good to see you. Yeah. So how are you? Be honest.
I've been like confused by the market. I mean, I know you're sitting on a quarter ton of corn snakes.
An absolute.
Like the only thing I've sold recently has been Climax and a ball python. But we're almost at 50K ball pythons. I'm so excited when we hit it. I'm gonna like fucking champagne.
Are you?
No, it'll be all ironic. It'll be all ironic.
Well, I'm not gonna say I won't champagne in it because I've got a different scenario over here. You know what I mean? I mean, I've got a really different scenario over here. Like I bring you down to this number right here. Just fucking 22 ball pythons on here, and most of them suck. So I mean, most of them are definitely worthless. So I know for a fact that of the 22, I've got a couple of decent things in there that I can hold and whatever. But yeah, that I see that number going up and up and up. And you heard me the other night when my buddy called me and he's like, "What the fuck? There's 64,000 ball pythons on the market, and yesterday there's 48,000." And I was like, "You accidentally clicked the whole world, bro."
Right.
And he's like,
"Oh, we might actually hit 64,000 in the US though. Like
I'm sure that we will.
Close.
But the thing is that
not that number actually means anything.
I don't know that number means anything at all, because first of all, there's probably been that many ball pythons for sale in the country that haven't been on MorphMarket for the last 6 years anyway.
Oh,
it's just a matter of people jumping on the bandwagon of, now I know I have to have a MorphMarket account, thus I should have a MorphMarket account, right?
Right.
I mean,
but I'm still seeing like a cohort bulge from the COVID breeder babies. Most of their production is coming in for the first time this year, because they maybe didn't buy that many adult females their first year. but they bought some subadults, some adults, and so now we have a baby bulge.
Right.
It's fine. It's
You
just
have
part
to
of how
know.
it goes.
I mean, the market's going to have to correct itself, yes, but at what correction point? So I've had this discussion with a few people, and my biggest concerns is the disparagement between what's selling and what's not, as far as the disparagement of value between a $5,000 to $10,000 animal and a whatever
Just anything
you
else.
want to call it, anything else.
Yeah,
right?
even
Whatever
a
you wanna
paycheck
call it.
snake is struggling.
I don't even like using that term, but that has nothing to do with who came up with it, who regularly uses it. It has more to do with the fact that everybody's fucking paycheck is different. And when I had a reptile store, I think the people that were on fucking welfare spent more money in my store than the people who made, $1,500 a paycheck. So at the end of the day, I gotta wonder, where does the money come in? Where does the settlement come in that
The high end.
The guys that are doing it full time, they can't make it, have to go back and get jobs and things like that. And that changes a lot of how the dynamic of this thing works. Cause you have one thing that happened in 2008 and 9, when the market started to, I would say, slow down and go through that first solid ball python recession around the housing bubble burst time in 08. Right. I would say that you didn't have nearly the amount of pressure on having what a few people had. Does that make sense?
Right.
Now you have to have clown or pied or desert ghost or puzzle, or you feel completely washed out of the market.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Or
maybe lavender
even
albino or ultramel or monsoon or something like that in there too. But wherein is there a break where you follow what I'm saying? In 2008, the biggest problem was that champagnes went from, $15,000 to $2,000. That was the biggest problem. They weren't real world problems in 2008.
Right.
Now
Well, I think we're in a
2012
better position now than 2008, because more people believe that whatever they have has an intrinsic value, and all of this is fake snake money, where we're all just believing that it's worth more than the leather you could make out of the snake.
Oh, sure.
So I think there are more people believing in the system, so the system is inherently stronger. It's just not boding that well.
I'm not sure there's more people believing in the profit margin of ball pythons now compared to in 2008. I think in 2008, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this ball python thing's not going to keep going like this." And those of us that were kept going, we were like, "Oh, fucking right, it is." I mean, we're just telling you that we're not seeing any differences.
Right.
That this ball python market is recession proof, and that people are like, "No fucking way is it going to hold up the way it is." And then in 2010, I'm going to shows and I'm meeting people, and they're saying, "Well, how'd you do in the crash of 08?" And I'm like, "Oh, what crash of 08? I don't know what you mean."
Yeah. As long as the price of a ball python to a pet keeper is more than the cost of production, the whole thing works still.
But it hasn't really been more than the cost of production in a long time. I mean, when's the last time you sold a normal for $80? And when's the last, if you're producing a ball python for less than $80, please tell me how.
So I do not produce a ball python for less than $80, but during COVID time, you could get a $75, $80 at a show for just a nice looking normal posset pied or whatever. It doesn't matter the gender, because they're just oh, it's on frozen thawed, and you seem like a nice person. You'll explain the husbandry to me. Sure.
Oh, so yeah, there's no doubt that we've
in
taken
some markets,
normal.
20 is normal or 40 is normal, and that's obviously below the cost of production. But I think the average ball python that is produced is more than the cost of, I mean, it depends on how much people pay for rats or whatever, a good, efficient colony's cost of production. So
you're not breeding a bumblebee to a normal anymore and making your money back. No.
Right. So even if you're losing money on some animals, you're probably on average making more than the cost of production spread over the clutch. So I think the market is still fine. But what I'm concerned about is just if everybody goes ultra high end and there's nobody to buy $300 snakes, $400 snakes, $500. Yeah. Then you can't make your money back on anything else. So the high end market will struggle as well at that point, Because what is the point of investing if you can't sell your byproduct or your misses that are still good breeding animals, but fine. So we all need to still need to recruit new people to the hobby, convince them that it's fun, trick them if we have to, manipulate them.
This is why I love this woman. I love the woman's going to say that you need to just trick them. Just fucking, knock them over the head and drag them in the closet.
That's how I got married.
And just
okay. He didn't know he was signing up for this.
That's funny. Yeah, right. That's what happened. You did
like,
it the old caveman way. You
did
it the old caveman way. You just knocked the poor fucker over the head and was like, "Yep, I'm coming in this cave."
And bump uglies all day. And that was a lie. I was tricking him from the beginning. It was all about getting married and having a farm. So like
having a farm. So what does Hare Hollow Farm? You're just off to a great start, Quirky, I'll say this. Sean Hauer missed snake sales going anything besides corns and balls. I've had quite a few people asking me about carpets and kings and things like that, but I don't have very many other animals on my list. I've got 171 corns and only 22 ball pythons, but I've only got single digits of all the other shit. So you really can't ask me what the market's like on all that other stuff. But I can tell you the way the shows have been. Hognose have been doing very well. What else has been doing very well? Fat tail geckos have been doing pretty well. Hognose have been doing pretty well. Aside from that, crested geckos. Crested geckos have been absolutely aflame, but that's also a bunch of motherfuckers with COVID money, or they got their grandma to give them their COVID money and their home money or whatever else to jump into the almighty crested gecko market. One of my friends was like, "Can you believe we couldn't sell those things for $75 at the shows a few years ago?" And I was like, "We still can't." We still can't. You go there with a regular crested gecko and shit, you're not going to sell it. It's got to be a lily or a possible axanthic, possible axanthic something, or head axanthic something, or whatever, to really even potentially move it. So,
and
small
the crested gecko
boas move, but boas always move because there's not enough of you crazy fuckers making them. There's not enough people that are like punishing themselves. Like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make money raising boas because Pete Call did that. And he's the last motherfucker that actually made it doing that.
I don't know. There's some full-time boa people.
Oh, there are some.
There aren't a ton of them,
but boas aren't. It's productive, and you can't count on. Like, I would never want to be a full-time boa person. If I was a full-time boa person, you know what that would mean? That I had a bankable career on the side that I could just go back to at any time. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, 44 people in chat and 7 likes. Fuck all of you guys. I'm gonna kick all of you out of this fucking video right now if you don't go like it. But yeah. So, all right, bring me back to the beginning of Hare Hollow Farm. I don't know exactly what you farm, but I know you farm corn snakes and ball pythons amongst other things. And I know you did do it in Oregon or Washington.
Close enough.
You did it in Washington, and now you're in Oklahoma. So, that's got to be an interesting. I've never even really spent time there other than when I made a wrong turn. I think we made a wrong turn leaving Dallas once and ended up there and then rapidly regretted it. But no, I've never been there, but it can't be that awful. It's in the central part of America, the greatest country in the world.
I'm good. The best part about it is the Mediterranean geckos out my back porch that are invasive. I'm just thank God you guys
invasive
here.
Everywhere here. Yeah. Everywhere in the southern part of the United States, at least, where it doesn't get as cold as it does up there.
Well, that's the best part. I summed it up for you.
That's it. You got there, and there was a native species of Asian
I haven't
gecko
heard
there
here yet, like out in the.
Oh man, I'm sure you have some. Well, I mean, you can get. I hope you go out and find a brand new hognose mutation on your very first trip, and you know what, fuck
but
you.
But it's illegal to wild collect here.
It's okay. You can do like the leucistics, and you can just tell them you caught it in another state.
I could transport it to Texas and pretend I found it in Texas.
Dude, he was selling it out of Colorado and lying and saying it was from New Mexico, and then they got him on some communique saying that he actually caught it in Colorado.
Listen, I don't want to go to jail. The feds are calling.
No, the feds are listening to this. The feds tune in weekly to this. Come on. You know that, right? You know that. Of all the people in my history that I've interviewed, talked to on the phone that have gotten arrested conveniently the following day, they're definitely listening to whatever we're doing. So
at least the CIA, if not the
CIA. I don't think the CIA, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife, possibly so. So when did you start your reptile hobby?
So I'm one of those like girls that acted like a little boy and like dinosaurs. And so I ran around the woods collecting snakes and being a general nuisance. But I always just liked animals in general. I think animals are better than people.
I'm with him with farming, faith, love, and snarky comments. That's a pretty good one, Shane. That pretty much right. Sums up their podcast. It's why I think it's so fun.
Yeah. And then I wanted to be a paleontologist first, and then I wanted to study big cats. And then like I got a boa when I was 12, and I was like, this is better than all of those things. Because it just sort of captured whatever, the imagination in a way differently. So I knew I wanted to be a herpetologist. So I got into boas as like a high schooler. It's breeding and had like morph ambition. So this would be like 2002. So I got Jeff Ronnie's boa fowl breeding video on VHS, which was like blurry as shit.
Oh, yeah, they were horrible, right? They were horrible.
It has like a taped on.
Like on them because he just dubbed over it.
Yeah,
because he dubbed over it. He didn't record it professionally. He just dubbed it with 2 VCRs hooked up together. So
I watched that and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is fine. And I got rid of a lot of like extra stuff like leopard geckos and even got rid of corn snakes at the time because I was like, I'm going to focus in on breeding boas because that was like what I was passionate about. And I would like write like a little nerd in school, like my pairings coming up.
I found my folder the other day with all my original shit in it, dude. It's so embarrassing.
No, it's not embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
It's how you know you're a cool kid. Like I would write, I guess, on my worksheets, like
it's the proof of why I was a 19-year-old virgin. That was for sure. That was definitely it. I was like, if there was ever a wonder of why Sean was a 19-year-old virgin, I'm like, fucking, this is it right here. This is a folder of evidence of why.
You just needed to find like a compatible nerd is all, right?
That wasn't happening in my school. No, I'd have to like go around from school to. It would have been like I had to go to a nerd convention. Had we had like a herpetology club in school that I was the president of, that might have gotten me somewhere if I would have like went to a show somewhere and there was like another chick that was into it at her school. No, it wasn't the case. I had to take my first fiance that was interested, or my first girlfriend that was even remotely interested in me, and like make her interested in reptiles and get her a job at a reptile shop in Berkeley, California, while she went to college. The irony is she moves here, and while she's in my store, she shows me up sexing boas before anybody knew how to slide the tail of a boa and sex it.
And do the palpation method.
Okay, so East Bay Vivarium taught her that, and to be honest, we taught most people that. Jessica, I can't tell you how many times I've almost got into a bet at a show. One time when I first learned it from Celia in like 2001, we were in Daytona, at the Daytona show, and a buddy of mine asked me to sex out a pair of Argentine boas for him. Mm-hmm. So I reached down in the bag and I pulled them out and I slid the tail, and I saw this is a male. This is because they're Argentine boas. It didn't matter what they look like because all occidentalis look exactly the same. Like you'll never find a boa occidentalis in a litter that's like, oh, this is a really nice holdback. You'll be like,
nah, yeah, but you can have lines that are good. Like the Max Pinks stay good.
Well, sure. Yeah. Listen to me when I tell you that there was no line of these fucking boas. This was in 2001 when the guys that bred occidentalis brought the whole litter to Daytona in a pillowcase to sell to Mark Bell for $60 a head, $50 a head.
That's a good deal.
So I asked the guy, I was like, how much are they? He said, they're $75 a piece. And I was like, well, my boy wants a pair. Can I sex him out a pair? And he said, yeah. So I reach down the bag. I pull out a male. I pull out a female. And he looks at my buddy. He takes his money. He was like, yeah, good luck with that, man. My buddy's like, what? You don't think they're a pair? And I was like, oh, you don't think I did it right? And he said, no, there's no way you did it. You didn't even look at them. You got to probe boas, and I'm like, okay, I'm an old schooler, right? I don't remember who it was. He's still, old school motherfucker though. Like, not anybody like Jeff Ronnie, but definitely been around as long as Jeff. And I said, I'll bet you another pair of these things for free that I can sex them. I'll sex the entire litter in the bag without looking at a single one of them, and you can check me. And if I'm right, 100%, you owe me another pair for free. And I did it. And at the end of it, he probed every fucking one, Jessica, every one. He probed. And at the first one, he's like, oh, yeah, you're lucky, motherfucker. Yeah, you're lucky. And second one, yeah, all right. Third one, might be something to this. Fourth one, can you show me how to do this stuff? Yeah, you're right. Bowl haircut. Sean was not playing right then. Only because the little 5-foot Asian girl standing next to me taught me the fucking trick, dude. Like, I didn't know the fucking trick before Celia taught me. And honestly, I miss sex the boa in my shop. So anyway, I sexed all the snakes 100%, and the guy did give me the pair. And at the end of it, he said, I got to tell you this. It cost me a pair of snakes, but I don't know if it gets showed up by a younger hobbyist or younger person in this thing. But now that you've shown me what to do, and now that you've shown me that, I'll never probe a boa again. And I'm like, great. You shouldn't. Mm-hmm. You should never probe a boa in the first place. You can also do this on Asian rat snakes, reticulated pythons. There's
you can do it on corn snakes, like older corn snakes.
Yeah, but it's not like it is on a boa. Like on an Asian rat snake, it's like it is on a boa. You do that shit on fucking
right, where it like bounces back.
It bounces off your fingertips.
Like if you know a corn snake is a male, not that it's not super obvious just looking, because they are usually packing junk, but you can feel it too if you're
you can
know what you're looking for. Yeah.
Know what you're feeling for. No. It was a cool trick, but I was literally in my shop selling somebody a Peruvian red tail, and I was like, I think this is a female, and I handed it to Celia, and I was like, let me go get my probes. Can you hold it? And then as soon as I turn around, she's like, no, it's a male. And I'm like, bullshit. You pop it? You can't pop those. And she's like, no, let me show you how. And so that was really nice. It was neat. It was fun.
I didn't know that trick at that time.
No,
I guess no one had shared it.
No, it took a while to get around. It took a while to get around because I had never heard it, and she brought it. I'm telling you, she brought it from East Bay. So, did you? You grew up in Washington?
No, I was from West Virginia.
Oh, you're from West Virginia.
I have all my teeth.
All right, for those who's watching this that don't have all your teeth that live in Manhattan, we're really sorry about that insinuation that you're from wherever. But yeah, the snarky comments.
People are always like surprised that, like, I don't know, I don't have an accent or whatever. But I'm from
in Washington for how long?
Like 3 years or something.
That takes the personality out of anybody to be around people
I don't know.
that long.
I'm full of personality. It's hard to abrade.
Well, I know you're full of personality, but I mean the demeanor in your voice, like when you're talking to people. I remember
I never had one because I was from the Eastern Panhandle, so we're more like Northern Virginia losers, like that sort of quad state area. It's all the
more
same.
Than like what is that military family?
No, we're just dumb. No? That's all.
I can't even with you. You're gonna leave me speechless more than any other fucking
I'm trying.
that I've ever had.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm right there. Wrong turn, right turn. Doesn't even matter, man. If this is just a show of left turns, we're fine. We're fine. We're show of left turns. We're racing, right?
So let's go back. So in high school, I was having fun breeding snakes. I bought a super salmon, so a super hypo from Rich lineage, but it wasn't from him directly.
It wasn't from him.
Yeah, but
so you didn't have the luxury of picking out a fine ass snake, and then the week after you picked it out, him putting up a whole nother 10 more that looked better.
Listen, it was fine. It was fine. So I picked it because it looked like a super hypo / salmon, and it was, and it proved out super. But like and that was when hypo was still kind of expensive, $300 or $400 every time instead of basically a normal price.
Some of his super salmons were rated by price and were exceptionally more.
Well, I bought mine for $1,500. So like,
right. Oh yeah, you spent.
It was a nice one.
Then it was. I'm glad it proved out to be a super because it was definitely a probable super, not a possible super.
Yes,
right,
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
red eyes and all like super blown out.
Sure.
So you can tell when you're like pretty close to correct and that it's a super. But anyway, so then like it's a first year of college or so. It's 2005. I start having snakes die mysteriously. And at this time, we all knew what IBD was, but we had not linked it with arenavirus. So I had some more snakes die. And then I was like, then I started to see neurological symptoms. And so I closed my collection. So I spent 2 years like testing and necropsying and trying to do stuff. And
that was a bad time for boas.
And then I culled everything, including things that were never symptomatic, because we couldn't differentiate between something that was a long-term asymptomatic or not even
talking to Colette about those numbers and stuff were really disheartening. Like a bunch of boa breeders that had to,
I mean, a bunch of boa breeders probably fled boas to Ballsh right at that time.
I fled boas when my ex left. I completely sold the whole fucking thing off in 2009 because of the stress of IBD and all that stuff like that, because you had like one guy selling animals, and then he would find out that he had an IBD animal, and then guys in the other parts of the market would attack his clients and not want his clients selling any animals. And it's like, whoa. Come on, man. If everybody's on the same page, how is it bad for anybody to be selling? Or, does that make sense? No, like, it's not like Mike at basically boas was like, had some amazing fucking elixir that his boas were that impervious to all the shit that everybody else's boas were getting. You know what I mean? Yet he was actually, I know he's still around. I know Mike's still around, but Mike and I had a very bad time together. We fought a lot. We will never speak again over boa stuff. No, over boa stuff, over that shit, over him having an opinion over what was moral or not in the sale of a boa that had had any sort of line attached to an IBD accusation.
So it was hard then because we didn't know. We didn't know. We discovered arenavirus.
And if you'd have bought a Molly boa, it didn't matter who you bought a Molly boa from. If you bought a Molly from Jeremy Stone, he had it over there. And if you bought a Motley from Roy Lance, he had it over there. I just chose to buy a Motley from Roy Lance. And then I guess Roy Lance had some issues with some animals he sold, and that's when Mike chose to tell everybody, if you buy one from Exotics by Nature, you're getting one of those. And honestly, I thought it was pretty nasty. Like, it was pretty rude. But at the same time, I understood the goal. We were all in the same boat, So yeah, it was a bad time for boas, man. It was a bad time.
Yeah, but now it's a better time for boas, is what I'm saying. Because we can, even though the tests aren't perfect, we can test for it. So we can get close to like having half of, like, I euthanized animals that had never shown symptoms ever. Because I had like Schrodinger's collection where I'm like, is the shoe going to drop for this one? And these were animals I quarantined for a year. Like, everyone was like, you need to quarantine for a year to be sure. Well, that's not long enough for arena and boas. It needs to be forever, or you need some level of certainty based on number of tests or years or whatever, or just like pith them in the brain and take a chunk out and check. And then once it's dead, you'll be sure that it never had it to begin with. Like I get that it's fucking
and a lot of people don't understand that about this, guys. So like those of you that are watching this right now, that are listening to the two of us talk about this headache period in our lives, you could not test the snake unless you took a biopsy of its brain, and you'd have to actually kill it to do that. So,
so people would sacrifice specific animals to be like, is that animal bred that's more expensive still okay? And people would take liver biopsies too, but that's not necessarily definitive.
Not enough.
People would take blood swabs and look for inclusion bodies, not definitive. I paid Dr. Scott Stahl all kinds of money to look at dead boas.
To be honest with you, Scott probably paid the better part of a mortgage of a house for 10 years off of IBD and testing. I'm not saying he did it,
maliciously,
dishonestly or maliciously. No, it just so happened to work out that way. Just because, but really, it was bad. Like, it was fucking bad. It was. So
I was depressed and I left the hobby. Fuck this hobby.
No, boas could do that to you on a good day without IBD, though.
Yeah.
I mean, just with preemies and neo and dead moms,
and breeding problems. Right?
Yeah.
So I went to school. My undergraduate was in like ecology. My master's was in herpetology. I did like field work. So I was like, I like these animals still, but if I keep them in captivity, they all seem to die. So like, let's try to have fun with them in the wild. So I like my master's thesis.
You turn into an academic.
Yes. I mean, that was probably always what I was going to do anyway. But then I became like disenchanted a little bit because academia is hard because it requires you to suck like the most dick possible to get anywhere. Whether it's, a foundation for a grant.
I imagine being a female, it makes it even worse.
Yes. And they don't necessarily like they want team players who are good slaves, not necessarily people
not
who
good
want
researchers or good minds, right?
Yeah,
It's more
not to
of a
say that I didn't meet very smart PhDs. Let me be honest. But like, if you got through the program, you either were permanently damaged or, you sucked a lot of dick. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not here to point fingers, but
what's up, Lou? Well, shout out to Lou on that note. Gillian says, my issue with breeding boas is always everything can go wrong with live bears, like imperators, not so much the actual breeding or babies, but the afterbirth is gnarly. Wait until you sell it.
Smell it?
See it?
I don't know. I like the way it smells now. It's real.
Yeah, I like the visceral boa breeding experience. I don't like the
it's like
visceral
magical
adult human breeding experience. Honestly, I'd take a boa live bear over a human live bear at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience. I liked watching mom push the babies around. I mean, we produced the first, I think, high-tech boas. It's the only gene we really marked the earth with. Back then, made a lot of money with that one at once. And then, year after that, she left and Bo was left with it.
Did you ever try to make the super?
But I mean, we were never going to go that far anyway. As soon as so the year we made the high techs, the year after that, the Potts brothers made the super Aztec, and it was all derpy and shit. And I was just like,
people are still trying to make that shit and hope that it works out.
And they will. And the sad thing is, I think that the co-dominance in boas have shown a lot of weakness, like especially Motley's, and
the whole thing is fucked.
Yeah.
Sorry, not every single one, but there's something wrong with when you disrupt pattern in boas, you disrupt musculature too. And that's smooth muscle anywhere, heart, digestive tract, and skeletal muscle.
Yeah, and so guys, if you see a super motley boa that grows with age, it actually loses its muscle.
It looks like really a nightmare.
Creepy. Have you ever seen like a 3-foot one? Like one,
oh my God,
the biggest ones that they ever got? Because oh my God,
douchebag got a female and kept it alive for 3 or 4 years or whatever, and got it to breed successfully, and it had a bunch of slugs or whatever. It looked like the fucking fourth horseman, plague.
That had to look like a skeleton of a boa wrapped.
I was trying to find pictures and send it to you. It is the worst thing. I couldn't believe she made it that long, but she was suffering, because if you don't have that muscles, how do you feel?
And so there's definitely something going on there, because I mean, like the arabesque boa already had issues with just the simple form of it, as it were, and the arabesque boa, or the homozygote had loose skin and less muscle on an arabesque.
There's a lot of bad ones.
Weird.
And that's like fine, because that's like the
CA super motleys really are the same, Gilly. They're not any different. They're the same. And trust me, they weren't even ever CA. Trust me. One of those is the original. There wasn't two of them. There wasn't two fucking motley boas. I promise you that. There was one original motley boa, and whoever hybridized it, or didn't hybridize it, bred it, because they're all imperator, right? Like they're imperator from the Tarahumara Mountains in North Mexico all the way to fucking northern Brazil.
Well, they have Sigma now. So Tarahumara is now Sigma.
Oh, is it? They broke them down. I don't follow this shit, dude. This is a bunch of new scientists that want to make a name for themselves, like all the fucking Indo-Australian python stuff. I'll talk about it with Nick Mutton, but at that point,
I like when they split up boas, it makes sense, because the amount of genetic drift between west of the mountains in Mexico and east of the mountains makes sense. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
But because of the new taxonomic trend to get rid of trinomials, they're not going to give boas back their subspecies. So our fantasy world we're living in, where Occidentalis and Longicauda and Nebulosa still exist, is probably never going to bear out. That's why Vin has
which
two
is
sections
crazy,
in
because
his book.
That stuff is all very different.
Yeah, it just means that like ecotypes don't matter. The phenotype doesn't matter. Like what they did to Pantherophis, where there's a black rat snake that's one species on one side of the Alleghenies, and the black rat snake that's another species on the other side of the Alleghenies, because because the phenotype of an Everglades, a yellow, a gray, and a black doesn't matter. It's the genetic drift. So the ecotype for the location is good for that location, but there's not enough genetic difference, even though they look totally fucking different, and they look totally suited to their environment, it's not different enough. It's all like post-glacial evolution up the climb. And it like hurts my brain and it makes me sad because like how do you save an Everglades rat snake from extinction if the rest of the range is the same? The federal government's not going to be like, well, that's special, so we should save it. They're not going to save it because the Endangered Species Act doesn't like care that it's like a local variant that's cool, right? It has to actually be different.
It has to be different to be different. Yet you still have all those motherfuckers that are wanting to yell about Brookside and Floridana being different or not the same or the same or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of argument there.
As a hobbyist or like a person who likes animals, like having the ecotypes assigned to a subspecies is appealing and makes sense. Like, so you can keep the type,
especially if you're MorphMarket.
And
you can keep a fucking category because this shit's the categories on MorphMarket in these non-ball sections are a little weird.
Right. At the very least, they should split up like Pantherophis from Elafe, because right now people will put a male of every species of rat snake in all with the A-male tag. I'm like, these are all different mutations for different species.
Right. So. Different albinos of different species.
Yeah, of 30 species that are not even closely related at all.
Well, Morelia House in the house. What's up, Brandon Wheeler? Thank you very much for giving my girls some sunshine. I sent my full-grown 17, 18-year-old female diamond pythons to San Diego to live with Mr. Brandon Wheeler of Morelia House to live and die in the San Diego sun for the rest of their life. That's it. I'm not putting them back in a cage, dude. That's it. Like, I understand if they need some special TLC or some, sort of separation from the others, bring them inside, by all means, shove them in a box, but they will never go back into a cage that an arboreal snake breeder would use indoors ever again, as long as they are outside in that beautiful big outdoor enclosure that he has. So,
did they build follicles by themselves?
What's that?
Did they build follicles by themselves after the male died? Like, did you ever ultrasound them for chuckles?
Oh, they've built follicles all along. My male hasn't been able to breed for 4 or 5 years now since he broke his neck, and I bred them previously in a ball python room. I never even hibernated them or anything. People say that you need to winter them over so deeply and so heavily, and I had never needed that. I never ever needed that. I just watched their ovaries and ultrasound all year, and that's it. Just when they popped up follicles, I dumped the male in there and they bred, and that's all. It's just about 5 years ago, they stopped doing that. And I just decided I wanted to hibernate them again. And when we put him into hibernation, when the male came out, he had a broken neck. So I don't know if he got stuck in the lid or in a tub or, you know what I mean? They'll do fucked up shit sometimes, and broke his neck. But man, I really appreciate Brandon for taking him, man. And they're about to get cold as fuck. He said, yeah, I know. And that's good. I sent them right in time, just in time. Hoping that they do something because they're beautiful, and I mean, those species from Australia are just so hard to get and trusting where they come from. And, at least you and I can go out and collect more Pantherophis if we want to, if we're in doubt, when in doubt, collect more Pantherophis. But no, that's not the case here. You got any Australian ties to things, or what are you into aside from just the corns, the balls, and the boas and stuff?
I like, so like if I was going to get into something Morelia, it'd be an IJ and not Australia, because I see too much cancer in Australian stuff. And I'm suspicious of the long-term viability of those lines. If you're going to keep them pure, sorry, Australian people, like it's cool, but like there's a due date coming. And it's probably I don't know what generation it'll be, but you could still import
IJs. It's
IJs.
Expired genetics. You think it's expired genetics, even though I think there's still a lot of illegal Australian reptiles coming into this country.
Well, the feds are listening, but if someone wants to tape more of their balls and bring them in, that's fine.
They gotta look at global mail,
because I'm pretty sure like Brisbane coastals were a pair, And so it's just been like Targaryen shit ever since then of like brother and sister, back to dad.
But wait a minute. You know what happened with that, right? All the coastal, all the Jaguar siblings and all that bullshit mudded it up so much that somebody brought in real
Brisbane's and bred it to a mutt?
No, real Brisbanes again.
Oh, from Europe?
I can promise you right now that the Brisbanes that I have for sale on MorphMarket right now are 100% real, and they have never seen a Jaguar bloodline ever. In fact, I know for a fact that they're F2s from wild stuff, from original wild stuff.
Are they related to Nick's pair?
I don't know I don't think they're related to Nick's pair.
Okay.
No. But all whoever I got them
then breed
from,
them to Nick's pair, because right now the homozygosity is at an all-time high. I'm just like, holy shit.
Right.
I mean, this is a boa problem too. Like Tarahumara's was one pair. You know, how many Longicauda came in the country originally? 20?
Yeah, but were leopards Tarahumara?
So they were Sigma. So boa Sigma. So a Sonoran boa, but not the Tarahumara specific locality.
Not that locality.
So you could like stay within the species, but maybe outcross your stock to get some like long-term viability. I fucking love locality stuff, but locality stuff sort of falls apart over time if you can't. Genetic drift will drive you into like deleterious alleles. And I see so much cancer in Australian pythons. It makes me struggle to be interested in that project, even though they are cool. That's
very interesting. Very interesting. That's a hell of an angle to take.
Yeah, you know? It doesn't matter if it's cool if it dies. So like I'm sensitive to like unnecessary snake death. So I pick snakes that are common, readily available, and I have lots of heterozygosity to pick from because I like selective breeding projects or like selective breeding with morphs or whatever. So corn snakes are perfect for that.
So albino Brazilian rainbow boas are not something you're getting into right now.
I think no. And Brazilian rainbow boas are shit pets. They're cool for an advanced keeper, but one way to guarantee it dies is just to sell it to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, so an imperator mutt boa, a ball python, and a corn snake are like the triforce of like shitty, super common snakes that are actually relatively easy to give to someone and be like, this is how you take care of it. It'll probably last, 20 years for a corn or 30 years for a ball if you don't completely screw the pooch. So
and in their size range and say, you are absolutely right. There is nothing better. Okay, let's go smaller than a ball and smaller than a corn snake then. What is your ideal species that gets even smaller than these two species?
Diones, rat snakes.
Diones, rat snakes. What a weird fucking species to throw at me. Not Kenyan sandboas, not Western hognose, not fucking like Diones, rat snakes.
So rat snakes. So like, Western hognoses are cool, but I don't think
obscure ass shit. Okay, good job. But most of these people were like Diones rat snake. They're like looking in an old encyclopedia because Google can't find it.
I think the Diones rat snake is like the sleeper, like easy colubrid that we have fucking left behind. Like if you go to like the German websites, they have all these localities, morphs for the localities, morphs that are no longer locality specific. We could be crossbreeding types. We could be doing all our stuff. You could like do the same thing you do with corn snakes, put in a smaller package with eggs that take less long to incubate, longer brumation time, so they're asleep longer, so you don't have to like pay attention to them as much.
Yeah, I feel that. I do.
And the two that I have are like red and orange.
Yeah,
so
they're
like,
gorgeous snakes when you get good colorful ones. There's no doubt about that. There's also
there's like
dirt
some
poor,
localities
ugly motherfuckers too, though. Like, let's be honest here. Like, wait, hey guys, you want honesty? Here's honesty, right? Like, let's look at Dion's right. Let's look at like when lightning strikes and hits your snake and it looks good. Like, oh my God, that snake looks so amazing. But I can show you like 15 other ones on here look like absolute dog shit.
But there are corn snakes like that too. So it's about selective.
This is true, but there's also fucking 18 million different mutations of corn snakes we can work with too.
Right.
Crazy. She throws out Dion's rat snakes.
Listen.
So let me look at the comments since I've been
very hardy. They're like a Russian rat snake, but like
hey Mike.
Smaller.
What's up, Mike? And let's see. Have you guys have anyone having issues with cocoa, including death? Cocoa bedding? Did I read that wrong?
From the salts because it wasn't washed enough,
I
or
don't
from
know.
like impaction or whatever.
Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe she can, or they can, kind of give us a little rundown on that. But yeah, maybe so. I don't know. Maybe salts. Maybe I thought all that shit's pretty rinsed, But I mean,
I don't know.
Again,
I've gotten some
I'm not a
bad
big
batches.
cocoa fan. I'm not a big cocoa fan though.
No offense,
but
cocoa
yeah.
people. I've definitely
I'm
gotten
not a
bad
cocoa
batches
fan.
that were like they hadn't been washed yet, so you'd have to wash them yourself because
Oh,
they would stain your snakes so bad with like the salts. And you're like,
Mikey says Centicolus triaspis.
What is that?
Centicolus? It's a rat snake.
The ladder rats? What is that?
The green rat. Western green rat. Right? Western green?
Oh, is
right?
it? Oh.
Centicolus? Green
So
rat?
people have problems getting them to breed in captivity.
People have problems getting them to eat.
And live. Like
They're
they're sensitive to humidity problems.
They
like
are
high
absolutely
humidity.
a challenge, though. They're a challenge. But if you haven't figured that out, I mean, it's Mike. He's got a zoo in his basement for swimming dragons. Speaking of Targaryen's basements,
So as like a crown in your jewel, as a green rat would be a cool like North American like
a pinnacle. But I'd rather say that
right,
I was
but
a
I
champion
could sell
of Alterna than
like I could sell a
champion
Diones to someone and they would keep it alive. Like a corn snake, and they could breed it themselves because the babies grow big. They don't eat lizards or anything weird. And I could give you a red one, or an albino one, or a melanistic one, or whatever. The Germans have a ton.
Mike says they need to be hot and dry. Well, I can't do that here in Louisiana, bro. It's hot and wet, or hot and hot, and there's no hot and dry. There's hot and damp and wet, and that's pretty much it. It's hard for me to be hot and dry here. Without spending way too much money to try to do something. These people are just throwing out scientific names like they're special. He throws out a Splendida king snake. Unfortunately, a Splendida won't ever be a real popular one when it's done biting and shitting all over you. And somebody would be like, but a cow king is so much prettier and he does the same stupid shit. Or a Brooks eye, as what Gilly said up there earlier, somebody said Brooks and whatever, Lou Balls said they're about to merge Brooks and Floridana when I mentioned that earlier. And yeah, I'm sure that they probably should because it is the same thing. It's just one has prettier color because it comes from the south. And, I mean, they're never going to be able to subspecify that kind of stuff. But I mean, we could throw out like species all day long that have never hit the spotlight. Honestly, there are a bunch of fucking cool rat snakes if we're going down the rat snake run. That's like talking to a guy like Mike's Monitors about geckos. Be like, look, motherfucker, there are some cool ass geckos, and you don't ever need another lizard other than a gecko. We got geckos that have venom that comes out of their asses. We got them that can close their eyes at night. We got all kind of crazy shit with geckos.
Right.
But like, I don't know. Did you ever work with like Porphyrias or anything like that? They're also difficult in my opinion. Like I've always found them to be very difficult.
No, I don't know. I don't know how to like convey that I'm a basic bitch without conveying that I'm a basic bitch.
She's a basic bitch. She's conveyed it. You pretty much conveyed it by saying that you were a basic bitch. I mean, that's conveyable.
Like I knew I liked morph mutt boas from the beginning, but the things that I liked about morph mutt boas was that there were selective breeding projects, locality, morph projects, and they were easy to take care of and easy to sell because it was like a known quantity. So I absolutely encourage people to have a couple of rare species or do whatever. But that's not how I want to run a business, is just focusing on rare species because I need to move animals.
I gotta pay the bills. This is true. It is true. Now, I mean, at some point though, you could introduce rarer species that are easier to keep.
Like Dione's rat snakes.
Like Dione's rat snakes. There you go. You can make a lot of money working uphill, pushing people on Dione's rat snakes. You really sent me for a spin on that one.
I breed Climax, and the Climax sell really well, and they're super hardy and they're great, but they're they're a touch big. So
Rosalie. What is that? Bogertophus. There's another like Transpagos, right? Like,
yeah,
right? That's Transpagos genus, right? Bogertophus. Rosalia. Okay. So it's another, it's like a suboc. So, I mean, I guess it would be, what would you call that? I mean,
is it from Mexico only?
No, it's from it's from Baja, but it's obviously a
Suboc cousin.
Suboc Mexican night snake relative with them big fucking eyeballs. Dude, I want this. Like, I want this. Anybody listening to this that breeds this, contact me. I want this. I would like a pair of these or a trio of these just to have because they seem cool. But yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's a new one on me because I didn't know there was another Bogertophus. There you go. Give it up to Uncle Mike for putting me on something new. A Baja rat. Put me on something new that I didn't know. There are so many weird snakes like that, though. One of those snakes that's the ones that, oh, fuck. I can't ever remember the name of them. They change colors throughout their life. And they're Asian rat snake. Oh, fuck. Or like a rat snake. You'll never get it. I don't know.
One?
A
lot of them have to go through ontogenetic color change. So
yeah, this is a species that always changes colors, but it's not a rat snake. It's like one, but it's not one. But anyway, BNS Reptilia says that, Jessica, I'm so late. I'm so sorry, but you know what? You're going to have to watch it on the replay because you missed a lot of great shit so far. I'm sorry to say to all the other fucking people that have been on here so far. This is probably one of the more fun podcasts that I've had.
I try.
Since I've been back. So thank you. Mike said he misses his band. Like, good luck finding some of that, like, good luck finding those in the future. And he says, got you, nephew. Yeah, I hope the fuck you do. Don't forget me. Isopod.com's in the house. It's better late than never. Speaking of someone who also said that sales were going a little bit less than favorable, that the isopod business is down as well. So let's not feel bad. It has nothing to do with MorphMarket. It has nothing to do with my corn snakes or your corn snakes or your Dion's rat snake fascination, and that you're not selling snakes because we're not selling anything. Really.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm not worried about it. It's just more like thinking.
I'm worried about it. Fuck you. I'm worried. I'm very fucking worried about it.
Thinking about the meta trajectory of what the whole hobby is doing.
The meta trajectory of life is that I'm not going to make it much longer, and I need to make some more money before I leave. You
better start dancing in that wheelchair at
That's it. I've done that. And all I got was this fucking trophy from Herps. I told you, I got a belt for that. It's sitting right here. Yeah.
Okay. Start on OnlyFans. How are your feet doing these days?
OnlyFans. That's right. Yeah, that's right. See, there you go. If only there were some. Now, wait a minute. Or is there an OnlyFans for some very pale, not so hot looking feet that we torture?
I'm sure there is.
We can fucking do that. On there. We can fucking do that, man. I mean, I'm not saying you can hit me with a fucking poker like Mr. Deeds. I'm not saying I got Deeds Blackfoot or anything, but I've been thinking about doing that for Halloween. That's the cheapest Halloween costume I could come up with in a wheelchair is a Deeds pizza shirt, some black spray paint, and a fucking poker for a fireplace. That's about the best I can do. But you're right. OnlyFans is probably not the place for me in foot.
Listen, this is a judgment-free zone. So if you need to get some dollars,
well, look, girl, I wish I could qualify for something like that. But the best I ever did was this Herps belt for the dance competition champion at Conroe one year.
Wow, that's
right. They went all out and had like this super fucking fancy belt made, dude. I mean, of course, it's green, so that the green screen's picking up to 2017, but and they never had a rematch. Like I always wanted a rematch, and I had it all staged out. Like I had the rematch all staged out, right? Like so, I had this plan. I bought a sequin hat, and I cut the bill off the sequin hat, so it was just like a skull cap of silver sequins. And I gave my buddy a LED flashlight, and I said, okay, if they do the dance competition again, I'm going to win it a second time. And he's like, I don't think you can win it a second time. I was like, bro, nobody's going to beat us. And he's like, what's the plan? And I was like, I'm going to dance around just like I did before. And then somebody's going to turn off the lights to the center. And as soon as they do, you turn on the LED, shine it on my hat, and I'm just going to spin in place. And I'm going to be a fucking mirror ball for everybody. That's the best I can come up with. I mean, I really can't do anything, better than that. Raven, you're in the hospital. Why the fuck are you in the hospital? It's not a good place to be watching this podcast. People don't appreciate the language.
Oh, no. Yeah.
At all. You might give some motherfucker a heart attack. Yeah, Gilly, you could do an OnlyFans with you fighting a lemur. Sure. I'm sure somebody would pay for that. I would really not doubt that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean.
Well, let's go back. It's only been like an hour, but why I'm called a farm?
Yeah, let's go back.
Let's go back.
Let's go back to the chickens and the goats and all this. Let's go to this.
So while I was in school, I did a lot of like sustainable agriculture classes and whatever environmental dumb crap.
Hippie shit.
Hippie shit. That's right. So I was like, I want to get out of school. I like animals still. I was raised on a farm. And I was like, I'm going to have a farm, but also have snakes on the farm and have like chickens and rabbits and rats and feed the snakes and like have like a cohesive,
there you go,
ecosystem based around like the top predator, which would be the snake, but like I'm managing all these like populations for herpetoculture. And like
sounded like a great idea in theory.
Well, like you can't put anything on Schedule F anyway.
That's right.
Not really a farm.
That's fucking right.
But if I could convince the USDA, I maybe would, but then we'd have a lot more oversight.
A farm? Like you consider a farm like Florida agriculture if you don't use the light from the sun, the rain, the water from the rain, or the soil from the earth, you're not a farm. You have to use one of those three things.
I think that if pets don't qualify as a farm, then horticulture that's ornamental should also not qualify. So fuck them. Because it's not fair. Like a fur bearer, milk, row crops, whatever.
I think
all that counts, but also ornamental fucking plants. These snakes are ornamental. Your pet sugar glider's ornamental. It's for fun. None of that
but that
counts.
doesn't mean that if you're in a state like Louisiana where you are tax exempt on all livestock that
but
you
not
produce.
Most states don't treat you like a farm.
Yeah, they do.
Even though you
this state actually does treat us like a farm in every way of sales tax collection, but not in property tax. That's what sucks. But I mean, you ultimately you'd have to catch the right person, right? Because I mean, I got 5 acres here, and I think I have to have a pair of animal per acre to be considered a farm. But to be considered that farm and actually apply for it, I've only had the balls to do that if I was using one of those 3 things, like I said. And I'm not using any of those 3 things, right? Because that's what somebody in Florida said.
But actually, Mark
Bell told me
it wouldn't be that hard to be like, I collect rainwater and run it through my cistern.
You're absolutely right.
It's in my greenhouse where I keep my green iguanas or whatever.
Doesn't really work that way. Like they're not even really considering that. Like if you had a greenhouse operation in Florida and you would be using the light from the sun, they would not even remotely credit you for the water you collected from the rain. They'd be like, take the fucking tarps off so that the rainwater gets on the plants. Because when the rainwater doesn't get on the plants, that's just like water you bought, and we don't care. And
right.
Yeah.
What I'm just saying is like, I think we should treat herpetoculture as like the way farmers treat farming. There's systems in place. You have animal science at work. You're trying to produce animals for more than the cost of production. It's not just like a fun hobby. I mean, it could be for some people, but like to have a functioning business, we have to have like systemic like thought process instead of just being like, I'm just gonna fucking do whatever. I'm just gonna buy stuff.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
So
it's a farm to me.
That's where Hare Hollow Farm came from.
That's
and
right.
That's fine. It's farming here too. If you're farming mice, you're feeding them grain and you're, feeding them away to stuff. So I don't know. I think it comes in whenever taxation comes in place too.
Right.
In Florida, it's definitely a thing. Because in Florida, it's weird though. You got to have like all kind of crazy shit, right? Like if you have turtles and liquid on your property, you have to fall in with an aquaculture facility. So you have to have like retention ponds and all kind of crazy shit when you start applying for things like that. You know, when that's what Lou Ball said, it should be considered agriculture at a certain size. But would you really want it to be considered agriculture at that size? Now, I go back to Florida, and most of what I know about Florida's laws and things are from my conversations with Mark Bell that unfortunately we can't ever have on this show because he won't come on this show voluntarily, but on any show. But, you know, dude, like he even told me that in Florida, you don't even have to have a fucking permit to build a building if it's on agricultural land. He said, do you know I can have a 2-story building with people working upstairs and not have any, like, I mean, yeah, I'm liable if they get hurt, but not have absolutely any worry about whether or not that floor could hold them or not, because I don't even have to file permits or get inspected as an agricultural facility in Florida. And so in some cases that could be advantageous, right? Like, you know.
Well, I obviously do not want like the extra regulation, but nobody's going to, so far anyway, like regulate agriculture out of existence because we'll all starve to death because there's like some incentive and like, you know, clarification because USDA is like this industry, even if it's something ornamental like plants, is worth this much to the state of Florida this month to national GDP. Even if it implies extra, manipulation by the USDA, they would at least respect us and not just legislate us away immediately if we were accepted as a real thing.
That's one of the things that we've always pushed for. And I think that in the Florida people, Greg Graziani and Mark Bell and Bill Brandt and those people that have really worked with the state of Florida extensively to try to get a system of guidelines, right? Like basically you could be an accredited breeder by this organization, but you'd have to meet these criteria. I think that would be hugely advantageous. I think that would be more advantageous than the next piece of software that can track a ball python's genetics.
I mean, I would like that too, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Right.
But that you realize that's been tried like 15 times. The only reason that it's going to actually work this time is because, God's doing it. That's the only reason why.
I mean, I use Husbandry Pro and I like that good enough, but it has some issues. So I don't. Have you tried Husbandry Pro? Yeah.
No, I haven't tried any of them since the original system I was on because I knew that these systems didn't have nearly enough people using them to perfect them to make sense. And at the end of the day, that their reptiles are too productive to track their production. They're too productive to keep a registry. They're too productive they're not identifiable enough. They're not, now look, if
they could be, you would just need to have
microchipping was a thing. Yeah. If microchipping was a thing, like, okay, let's just say this, let's say brand X ball python breeder was the best ball python breeder in the ball python game. Is brand X microchipping every single animal out of the door?
Also, microchips migrate and can exit.
Migrate, but it'd be easier to find on a snake than it would be on a dog where they migrated to. I mean, I can't tell you how many times.
Most of my dog microchips are, there's enough scar tissue it holds them, but like reptiles are really good at just like being like bye, and you can lose microchips from, like if you're doing like a pit tag, like tag and return survey, there's actually like a known quantity of, they just like expel it from their body.
Oh, really? Okay. So there's actually a loss of.
Yes. Even microchips were totally inert with glass. It's fine, but they can still expel it at a certain rate. What I was going to say was like microsatellite DNA. If you get a good mix for a species, just as you send the shed off, you absolutely can confirm that exact animal.
Sure. Sure. And I think that these guys with this genetic testing will go a long way with that. But
are we willing to do that for our animals though? I don't know.
I don't think we are. And look, I'm not even remotely questioning the validity. I'm not questioning any of the shit that I heard mentioned in that podcast other than the sheer amount of information.
Well,
that undoubtedly will have an error.
Well,
not in the collection or the DNA process, but in the actual information management process.
Sure. Yes. So, I mean, that's humans make mistakes.
You know, I'll tell you what happened to me the other day. I sold a snake on MorphMarket.
Okay.
I marked it sold. And then I resold it this Monday.
Did you do that on purpose?
To it, and you know what? It didn't say sold on it. But it said sold in the other ad. And I never made it available again. So there was a glitch in MorphMarket this week. I don't know if you know, the MorphMarket went down for a short period of time this week. And it happened around that time that I came back and I resold a snake to someone that I had already sold to someone else that had already been marked sold on the MorphMarket system. Yet the MorphMarket system didn't have it marked sold. I'm not saying it happened more than once in the since I've been on MorphMarket. Not saying it hadn't happened more than once, and I don't know. But what I'm saying is that even a computer program is not infallible.
Right, but other species have gone through this. Like you have like a halter horse or a goat or whatever. Like currently in like the dairy goat registry, every buck must be DNA typed to prove parentage in the case of like a dispute.
Goat breeding's fairly widespread compared to ball python breeding.
Right. So I don't know if we should ever have a registry where we force people to send in a sample as like a holding place to prove parentage or whatever, because that's too much. Right?
I'm with Mike. I'd be willing to DNA test any Flavorufus in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is more important to like small communities with a rare species where they're like trying to determine like how heterozygous is my animal and your animal, and are they like a good match, or are we doing Targaryen shit again? Because that's the only way you're going to keep your little like pet project species going, is by like thinking about doing the management like a zoo would do it.
Right.
So zoo's not going to help you. You're going to have to help yourself at this point.
Yeah.
Or like proving locality purity. Sorry, locality.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, but in what locality purities do you really care that much about these days? I mean,
I don't know.
What about you? Where do you care about localities these days?
I wish it mattered more than it does, right?
Well, because I was about to say, you know, I mean,
like I wish
that I say his name on a show every time, but you know, Chris would have something to say about that. You know, I mean, he would be like, you know,
what, that he doesn't think that any locality is pure, or that he thinks
that he doesn't think people care about that kind of shit anymore.
I think people do care, but I just don't know what the long-term end goal is. Because we don't have enough of them. We don't have the tools.
I knew what Varanus. I knew he was talking about Varanus, but yeah.
So we don't have the tools to prove what we need to prove. So until we get there and we're like, okay, all of these are Longicauda, and for sure where'd
Ortoni go?
Well, that's the thing. The thing that we call Longicauda, if you look at like, iNaturalist, it looks like it's from across the bay. It looks like Ortoni, and it has zeros. They look like zeros in the trees. So they were probably smuggled across the bay and pretended to be exported from Peru, and they weren't even Longicauda to begin with. So what does the real Longicauda look like? And are these really Ortoni?
We don't have. I don't think we have Ortoni.
So, well, if you go look at iNaturals right now, the thing where the range map for Ortoni is looks like our Longicaudas. So when they got imported as Longicaudas, they were really Ortoni, and we've just been calling them Longicaudas. And I think we should continue to call them Longicaudas until somebody does something about it. But the animals on the ground that we have don't look like they're from that subspecies, really. Are they like locality integrated? It's not like that these subspecies managers anymore. They're all imperator at this point, because they've thrown the subspecies in the trash, which is a shame, but whatever. But whatever we have, it's all one ecotype, so that's cool. But it's probably not even Longicauda.
That's interesting.
Interesting. iNaturalist is fun. There's a lot of secrets. And a lot of the zeros in the wild have the messed up heads that the zeros in captivity can have. So then it's just like, okay, they seem okay, even though they're fucked. So maybe it's fine.
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up with my first snakes is boas. So,
like, I close my eyes and I like think of the most attractive snake ever. It's a boa. It's like always been. They look like dragons or something. I don't know. It's just it is the perfect pet.
You're a chick. You're a chick.
Yeah,
you're a chick. That's a chick thing. That's a boa. Boa is a girl thing. Boa is simply a girl thing. I don't think you can take anything away from a retic or a scrub python for being about as dragon gets with the giant head.
I know, but they're big assholes. A boa is like the best. Like,
I disagree with that too. I think those animals are fucking brilliant, and I think they're assholes because they know we're pieces of shit for keeping them in incredibly small boxes. They know we suck. And I think that's it. I think Mike has a very similar opinion of that based on how he keeps his monitors.
Well, then we shouldn't have them as pets, but then you can have more boas, right?
I guess you could have more boas because we don't give a fuck about live bears, right? I mean, shit, they're gonna slug out regardless. They're gonna give us problems and headaches and bullshit regardless. So, what is your like species you could work with to end all if you had a weird thing? Do you have a weird thing?
Yeah, Quadra Vigata, Alafe. The Japanese 4-line.
Yeah, 4-line.
I covet it each day, especially the
100 flowers. Which 100 flowers?
I don't give a shit. You can get that one. You can't get the 4-line.
You can't get the 4-line.
And a lot of people are like, beating off to like the Japanese forest rat. I'm like, that's cool, but I don't give a shit because I can't have this one because they have the crow one, the Karasuno heavy, and I'm like, it's black. It's got like an evil face and like weird slit pupils, almost like it's a king rat, but it's not. It's right. It's their like
king rat. There you go. Stinking
like
goddess.
Giant,
fuck,
evil.
That was my primer of an Asian rat snake when I worked in a pet shop when I was 16. My boss told me to clean out the stinking goddess cage, and I was like, "Why do they call it that?" And I opened it, and I was
find out.
Oh, not only did I stink, but I bled like a fucking pig, man. I bled like a fucking bitch. I probably bled more from that than I bled from Mexican tiger rat snakes back in the day.
Yeah.
It's the only snake that ever bit me in the back. Yeah.
Took
one out of the bag while a wild caught adult fucking jumped down my shirt, went straight down my shirt and just started grabbing me on the back, like just fucking biting me.
What did you do to his mom? Did you call his mom something?
No, I didn't call his mom anything. I mean, I just took it out of the bag from Mexico. It was pissed off. It was a fucking big ass.
It's too bad we still like import them.
Tiger rat snakes.
I mean, some people
of course they still import them. Mexico doesn't want them. Mexico's like, please take these things. Maybe we'll catch them all one day.
We start catapulting them across the Rio Grande.
But I tell you what, they are sexy as shit, though. They are good-looking snakes, though, but they're fucking evil.
It's too like
Taiwanese. So I have cave dwellers, and I don't have any blue beauties or anything right now, but I do have caves. I do have an almost grown pair of Ridley eye, and I like those a lot for stinking long, noisy,
runny snakes.
They like to talk to you you can talk to them. They're like, like it's like talking to a fucking bad guy from a 1980s, version of G.I. Joe when he was talked with the hiss. I gotta talk to him like that. But they're always pissed off.
So I like all Alafe and Pantherophis and all the other artists formerly known as Alafe because like when I was like 14 or something, I got on thirdeye.com. It's still there somehow.
Oh, shit, you would have went on a ball python guy now. Rick Cunningham would have been Cunningham's Elafe back then. I don't know if you remember that website, but
maybe
Rusty's Balls, Rick Cunningham from Rusty's Balls actually owned Cunningham's Elafe before it was Rusty's Ball, before ball pythons took them out. And dude, they would have 2 tables at shows like Daytona and Tinley Park with nothing but rat snakes from side to side.
Yeah, people should still be doing it, and it's good. But I think we've lost species, just lost them.
Oh yeah,
and
we've talked about that on this show a lot. Already,
and we should keep them going. But I think there's a lot of people who are like, you need to get the biggest, stinkiest, fastest, poopiest rat snake, and that should be your pet. I'm like, no. Russians,
that would have been a wild caught adult blue beauty snake right there. That would have been a wild caught adult beauty snake.
Smaller things, easier pets. I don't know why we don't focus on that, and if they're going to be big, they should be chill, like a Russian or a Korean or a Japanese rat. Like chill AF. None of these runners that pee on you while they go. I'm good. Well, they're all beautiful.
Oh yeah, they're all beautiful. Yeah, you just choose not to work on them. That's all.
Yeah. I have a lot of snakes. I don't have time for all that poop.
How many snakes do you have?
I don't know. I probably have 300. 300.
Ask your husband.
Keepers.
How many snakes do you have?
Don't tell him. It's a secret, man. What
That's
the
exactly
fuck?
what I mean. That's what I mean. I want to know the
It's
fake
like
number.
asking a woman her weight. You don't ask her
know
weight.
the fake number.
You don't
I wanna
ask
know
her
the
how
real
many
number.
snakes she has.
Mm.
You also have to like
Not
fudge
if you're
the
in the
number.
same house. Not if you're paying. Not if you're paying even part of the bills of the same house. Do you even?
No, yeah, he's a team player.
No. Yeah, I'm sure he's a team player.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God
so what about so let's talk about your other, not your husband. What about kids? You got kids?
Well, I have one human fetus.
One human fetus, as a academic, herpetology academic would say. All right. How old is he or she?
He's 5.
He's 5 and he's still got, well, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know how to describe human children. I love him a lot, but I don't know if like
yours, but
I don't know how to convince you that he has some sort of merit,
redeeming quality.
He likes Hot Wheels.
That's fucked up. Oh, that's fucked up. He likes Hot Wheels.
He doesn't even like snakes. He doesn't even like snakes. He's barely my son, so I'll have to disown him here soon.
Oh,
let him fend for himself out in the forest.
All right.
He likes me, so I
want to talk about your other, and that would be your co-host of the Holdback Rack Podcast.
Yay!
For those of you who didn't know that this lady does a podcast every week, also, you can listen to her amazing humor and her cohort go along with it on her own very, special dick and fart joke podcast by a couple of ladies. Shame. So what's up with Jana? So she lives where? She's in
Washington still. I left my wife alone and destitute.
That poor woman. And now you got a disparagement of time between you.
I know. It's so hard. Like, and I get it that like we suck ass at like doing anything correctly, but really
I think you do the holdback just fine.
Like the middle of the day time slot, no one can show up to, but that is literally the only thing that works. And she has a super busy schedule and she's going to school and she's doing her best. I just want to like help her still do the podcast. So we're doing what we can.
Right.
So one day a week is good for us.
There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a hell of an effort. And it's a great podcast, guys. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet and you're just joining us, get your likes and your subscribes and your rate and your notification bells in here at the Ballsh Podcast. And then pop on over to the Holdback Rack Podcast and see. Here they are on Instagram. I said this earlier on. I was like, I noticed that you guys had so many episodes because I know you said that you had the audio version that you were uploading for the longest time, but that you just don't have enough subscribers for the amount of effort that you guys have put into this fucking thing that you continue to put in. So anybody listening to this, stop what you're doing right now and take out your phone, go on your computer, wherever the fuck you are in life, and find this podcast and add it to your list of things to listen to one way or another. So you guys are doing what? One show a week?
Yeah. We record on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on YouTube. And then I edit it up a bit just to get rid of the
that's terrible.
Stupidity. The sheer stupidity.
Don't even. It's a bad idea. It's a fucking dumb idea. Just upload it.
If I just take out buts, and spaces, I save 20 minutes of someone's life. So that is
really don't. I'm fine with the and the gaps and everything else because you just got to own up to it. I mean, I'm not, because I'm telling you right now, man. I mean, I'm not going to edit the and the shit out of this. I'm not editing anything out of this fucking shit. Keep going. That's fine. I didn't try to monologue the other night when Ozzy left me hanging here. I didn't try to monologue with just these fine folks in the fucking chat room.
You could have though if you wanted to. You could have found something.
I could have tried, but I had other shit to do. I had better shit to do than monologue to these folks. I mean, they've heard me talk enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people want to listen to it, you should be listening to it because of Jana, because she's much more fun and nice and interesting than me.
I disagree. I think the two of you are even Steven on this thing. I really do. I think you're every bit of each other on this.
I don't think anybody goes there for me. They're mostly there for Jana because she lightens it up. Otherwise, it's torture. It's just like a pedantic nightmare where I'm mansplaining to you continuously about something you don't give a shit about. Like,
hey, dude, you actually told me what snake you beat off to. So, I mean, I can't say that same thing for Jana. You said what I beat off to. I mean, the verbiage there alone, the two of you have to be right made for each other. But so, how long has that been going? The podcast?
We are like our 1 year anniversary is coming up, so we'll have to I don't know, get champagne or something, get drunk.
1 year anniversary.
Wow.
You should do that. And you should definitely stop editing and just not care.
Okay.
I don't think it's worth worth getting burned out or upset over. Whenever you feel like editing a podcast, think about
Sean. What would Sean do? I'm going to get a bracelet.
You could do what would Sean do? What would Sean do? Sean would probably go clean another cage of the cooler ass thing. It is the combo, like Marshall said, but I do listen more for Jessica.
But and look Jana's more nice. I'm such a mean old bag of shit. Like I like
ladies that want to be mean old bags of shit, though. I mean, that's what we want. We want the matriarchy of the reptile uprising to be strong. And
I'm
have its opinions
bitter and weird, right? Because I had all those boas die, and then
but doesn't it add such an angle though? Like it totally takes the wind out of some people's sails, however, because they're not going to listen to the Holdback Rack podcast and think that they're going to have some assholes saying, yeah, every snake I ever had made money, and every rack I ever had made money, and every show I ever went to made money. And
I think people need that
people need to buy a dream. You need to lead a horse to water, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Sean, I have some questions. Where are all the male cinnamons you produced at?
There you go. Thank you. We get to discuss all these questions. Where are all my male cinnamons? I stopped producing them in 2020.
I want you to know, like, I listened to your old stuff in 2019. So I guess you were done then.
Oh, I was well done.
Yeah, I was with the podcast.
Yeah, I was done with everything. I was fucking in the fish world.
Yeah, you were selling stuff out.
An aquarium shop.
But many things you said have stuck with me for a long time. Like, where are all the male cinnamons I produced?
Was that something viable and worthy of saying? I mean, I kind of feel like shit for some of the things I've said.
Because I think people like hold it against you that you degraded the industry or whatever by like implying that there was production that resulted in an attrition rate that maybe we should decide is unacceptable.
But yes, there's not one reptile that should be bred for cobra food, period.
But is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. It's okay to make cobra people buy all the fucked up dead shit like they always used to have to, or not buy cobras. Sorry. I happen to have been paid this week to make stencils for a guy who ships cobras. He wants me to make him box stencils on my machine so that he can spray paint the boxes with his logos and shit and everything, but he sells cobras. And so, I mean, he's been a friend of mine for a long time. And, ironically enough, he produced the very first snow ball python back in the day in history. He produced the very first double gene, albino and axanthic. And that would be Mike Jolliffe. And Mike Jolliffe is a cobra breeder. And honestly, I got to tell you that Mike Jolliffe has been a cobra breeder long before ball pythons were produced so much that they were sold for food. How was he feeding his cobras before that? Now, granted, you're not feeding cobras enough to have a cobra culture in America, like breeders of cobras and keepers of cobras. And I have 14.1 cobras and I can't wait to breed them. And that actually does happen now.
Right.
Like there's actually a cobra culture now. There's a venomous culture now.
So I guess we disagree. I think some snakes could morally be bred to feed in a fidiophile.
Burmese.
Okay.
Burmese be a great example.
That makes more sense.
All I did was put them in a cheap cage. I fed them very little food, and I got 30 to 40 eggs a year out of them.
Right. And they're actually
I sent it's cool, Jessica. I sent every Burmese to Taiwan.
Did they
sent
eat
every Burm that EBN ever made to Taiwan. We exported them all because there was no fucking way. No. Ornamentals.
Okay.
No, ornamental stuff. No, ornamental stuff. Granites and albino greens and shit like that. Oh, no, we'd send them all to Taiwan. Yeah, so just one dealer that would sell them all. But
I fucking love berms, by the way. They're like fat pieces of shit,
but
they're always so like nice and chill.
I love
mean, not
berms.
all
I
the
don't
time,
love berm culture.
Right. And I don't necessarily
I don't love the Bob Clark offshoot culture of berm breeder, you know, of just that fluffy giant
like
fat
it's a
turd.
Right.
You know, I mean, like at least I could have a few weeks ago when Jay Klotz was on this podcast in your stead, right? In your spot. And we could talk about the responsible ways of keeping a retic both manageably small, athletically sized, and a lot more true to the form of the actual breed of the species, you know, in the wild. And I think that the big dog in captivity now is showing these giant, fat, lumpy, obese animals. And I think it gives people a weird impression. What species is cobra food viable to you? I mean, I'm not saying a ball python isn't, because if you asked 18-year-old me, I would have said feed every fucking ball python to a cobra right now because I hate ball pythons. But I came out of a pet shop in the 90s, dude. Right. Everybody that was in a pet shop in the 90s hated ball pythons.
What I'm saying is there is real harm done to snakes that are supposed to eat other snakes by feeding them rodent food.
Oh, sure.
So either you feed them some sort of lizard gel casing, you know, reptile link or whatever, or you feed them what they're supposed to eat anyway, which is snakes. Mm-hmm. So is it fair to the snakes that are like part of like the pet trade attrition because they were too inexpensive to begin with? Or would it be better to feed them to a snake that would benefit directly and tangibly from having the food it was evolved to eat?
Sure.
At least some portion of the time.
Sure, but would they have the option to have food if these ball python people couldn't sell these ball pythons?
I don't know. The moral implications like give me the
heebie-jeebies to sell it.
For sure.
But I always had the ability to sell every normal I made.
So how did you find your wholesaler of choice? Because that's like something people keep secret. It's hilarious.
My wholesaler of choice for the longest time was Tyrone at Cal Zoo, because Tyrone did a lot of independent retail wholesale to pet stores.
Did you like meet him at a show, or did you just message him one day and like,
message him and ship him? Now it's not that hard. It's going to be harder to find because, plain and simple, I mean,
there's
pet keepers don't just want to buy a ball python. I got to tell you, a ball python in a pet store is not an easy sale.
Right,
not as easy as you'd think. When the person is looking at a red tail, or they're looking at a leopard gecko, or they're looking at a tegu or a tortoise or a corn snake, or I mean, there's a lot of options. Like if you'd have come to my store when I was running a retail reptile shop from 2000 to 2010, and you said, I want the pet snake that is the perfect pet snake, I would ask you, what size would you like? Mm-hmm. And if you told me 4 to 5 feet, it would be a corn snake. I wouldn't even offer you a ball python for that. And if you told me bigger than a corn snake, I would tell you a boa. I wouldn't even offer you a ball python for that.
Right.
If you wanted smaller than a corn snake, I'd offer you a Kenyan sandbow. I wouldn't offer you a hognose. You know, I had my plans. I had my things that I offered people, and it was what was best. I thought was best, obviously. But
like I think for sure within that size range for like a normal human that walks in, a corn snake is a better snake for a normal human.
Yeah, because you know what it's going to do when they're not holding it? It's going to move around the cage. They're going to see it.
Right.
And it's going to be entertaining. I'd ask parents, does your child want a snake to hold all the time or a snake to watch all the time and hold sometimes? Well, I like the other one, the one he can watch all the time and hold only sometimes. Okay, that's a corn snake.
Right.
You know,
right. And there are people who need like a Netflix and chill snake, and I get that. And a boa, frankly, or
no, they don't need
python.
a Netflix and chill snake. They don't need a Netflix and chill snake because a Netflix and chill snake gets.
They think they need that.
They get stuck in sofa beds.
Right.
Netflix and chill snakes.
Right, but that's what they think that they want when they come up to you and they're trying to buy a pet.
Gray Family Snake said, "Why do people hate balls?" I can tell you right now why anybody in the pet trade in the 1990s hated ball pythons. Is that because the bulk of the ball pythons were either wild caught or they were only good to buy from May to July. Okay. Right. Because African ball pythons come in from Africa from the farms in May. All right. So in other words, if you didn't buy them by July, they would be so run down because they'd been kept together and not fed enough and had so much cryptosporidium around them and all these other, bacterial infections and things like that, that you just flat out would not want to have your pet store boss order you one from a wholesaler past July.
Right.
So the very last year that I worked for a retailer, I talked my retailer into buying 100 ball pythons in May and stocking them in the back throughout the year. And then the very first year that I had the store was 2000. And that year I bought 500 normals. And the year after that, 500 normals. And the year after that, 500 normals. I bought 500 normal baby ball pythons for the first 5 years that I was Exotics by Nature Company. And so I could set them up, I could get them feeding, and I could guarantee my customers have feeding ball pythons. And if they didn't, I could replace them with ones that I could guarantee were feeding. Right. And that is what I did as a retailer to curb the bullshit of ball pythons. Ball pythons and green iguanas are the shittiest reptiles to have ever crossed American pet store countertops. I'm looking directly in the camera when I say this to you, just so that you folks out there lack understanding when I tell you ball pythons and green iguanas before their mutations are absolutely fucking worthless.
I bought a ball python from Triple L. I think it was in October, which is what makes this funny. In like 2003.
Yeah.
Died within like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was obviously like dehydrated and whatever. I soaked it.
Yeah.
And that's how I was like, ball pythons are shit. I'm just going to do boas because they are
ball
more functional. Yeah.
Oh, they come in with ticks. They only come in with ticks. They have ticks all over it.
Right. And I have a shit ton of ball pythons now. And I actually think they're much better and more interesting now.
You, I've been saying shit about these snakes and these lizards since I was a teenager. I paid all my mortgages and my car notes and like women and all. I mean, not paid, but like bought women's
strippers.
Life, well, sure, strippers. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Absolutely. But I'm not kidding you. Yeah, they rock as pets now from local breeders. Not anymore, though, except back to the question that Jessica asked me a minute ago. Where are all the male cinnamons?
Right.
Where have they gone?
There's a lot of pet trade attrition in the stuff that we put in pet homes, and we hope that that's a good home, and we educate them. But then they like go to college or some shit. And like
failure is inevitable.
The downstream stuff is just as bad as like a saltwater tank at this point. We're like, I'm not sure how many snakes make it to year 5 that we sell into the pet trade, even though we did like our best due diligence on owner 1. Like how many 10 or 15-year-old ball pythons exist total in the whole country? Some. What about 20? 30? We have some. But there's not as many as there should be based on how many were imported each year and then bred each year. So we have like an attrition rate problem that still exists. And I don't know what to do about it because we can educate the shit out of everybody. And it doesn't seem to trickle down to like owner number 5 who has like a crunchy little ball python that they've never given water to. That's just desiccating away in a 10-gallon tank
and they
for
think
year
Brazilian
5.
rainbow boas are beautiful and they can't wait to own one of those. So, I mean, that's
it
though.
So if I gave that same person a corn snake, though, that corn snake would do much better in that shitty 20 long with whatever aspen.
With that, I mean, beef jerky cage. If we're going back to the Goanna Ranch, to the Frank Reedus, thing of you put a screen top on top of a 10-gallon tank with a heat light with paper towels on the bottom, and you made the finest meat dehydrator that was never sold on QVC. And that was his little spiel.
We're getting better at like educating correctly, but I just feel like I can guarantee someone that snake will enter and have a better life.
Andy says Clutch will change all of it due to branding. I don't really know what you're referring to by change all of it, but branding never did anything to change anything other than just relabeling it. But I'm not saying it's not going to help sales and overall, bloodlines and stuff, but you can still have to still have a single gene animal, right? You're still gonna hatch a single gene animal. I mean, yeah, it might be het for clown, it might be het for pied, but at some point, you're not going to go away from the odds of hatching a non-special animal, you know.
But all this like negativity said, though, I still have like it's supreme faith. Like if you put enough ball pythons in the hands of enough children, they will become me. I was sold a red-tailed boa, which was called red-tail then. It wasn't called common boa because we just all decided that it wasn't called red-tailed anymore one day. That's fine. Fuck it. And I discovered, interest in reptiles because I just liked animals. And I was like, oh, reptiles are cool and easy pet. And so I was interested in herping, and I did my master's degree in it because somebody at a shitty pet store sold me a Colombian common boa as a 12-year-old. So like,
right.
Even though there's an attrition rate, it's still worth putting pets into pet people's hands. I just don't know how
I have no problem with the attrition.
I don't know where all the male sentiments are, though, for real.
I don't
They're
have
probably
any
all
problem
dead.
with the attrition rate of pet owners and their waning interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's not nearly as bad as the attrition rate of the ball python guy who can't make it breeding ball pythons, so eventually he just stops feeding them. And then I hear a rumor of somebody else buying their collection for a fraction of what it was worth because when he picked up the animals, quote unquote, you should see this shit and how fucked up it is. You should see this shit and how bad it is. You know, I mean, we had a bad guy here in Louisiana for a while, Patrick Starr. He moved away and took his problems with him or left some behind in the home that he left behind here that he previously rented. And it was disgusting and left behind in a total mess. But the fact is that doesn't mean that that guy wasn't in this business because there was a profit earning potential there. And I think you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people would be surprised at the local little mom and pop show circuit thing. And I do mean mom and pop show circuit. I mean the smaller time show circuit, not any RBC and not the big time California shows. But Herps, Repticon.
Surprised by how good they are, surprised by how bad they are. I'm hoping you're saying
good. About to be surprised at how very many shows have absolute motherfuckers at them.
Oh yeah,
motherfuckers that shouldn't be at them. Motherfuckers that are lined up on the wall with the same colored tablecloth all the way down, that have all these deli cups stacked on top, and none of them have prices.
You know, like stab their tires out. Will they stop coming? What do you think?
I'm with you. If you stab their tires out, will they stop coming? If you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to say that COVID would do it and you could just sneeze all over all of their supplies before they leave on Sunday. I mean, I'd love to say that would do it. Because if that would do it, dude, I would find like 5 people with COVID and I would just blow red pepper flakes in their face and drag them by these people's show displays so that hope to fucking God these folks went home and got a case of COVID so bad they never came back. I'll get shadow banned from YouTube by saying that. But yeah, Limey's in the house. But really, like these people are really fucking awful motherfuckers for doing what they do to this hobby. I had a customer of mine come to me not long ago and be like, dude, I bought a snake from these people at this one show. And then I met up with them in a few shows later to pick it up. And it wasn't the same one. And I know it wasn't the same one. And I'm like, and where is it? Well, it's at my house. Well, why the fuck did you accept it? You should have made it. You should have went and got the show promoter right there and been like, this guy fucked me, and I want you to throw him out of the show today. Honestly, that's what I would do. And I think that show promoter would do that.
Do you believe show promoters when they say that they cannot fill those slots if they do not accept those vendors? Like I've been told by a show promoter that they will continue to sell tables to a blank person because they don't think they can fill the slots.
Some shows, yes. Repticon, no. You know, if we're talking about Repticon, no, there's not enough people going to their shows.
Right. No. Well, nobody should probably go to Repticon. Don't sue me.
But I mean, honestly, look, I'm sorry to say that I still see some Repticons pop up and some breeders say that they're there and they're breeders that I know, and I know they're not terrible people.
No,
And
well,
I
that's
know
like
that it's
the
just
great
useful.
shame and tragedy. It's like a
It's a
really good
shame.
breeder will be right beside a dog shit with like desiccated little crested
Or
geckos
mites
that probably
crawling
have
all over
never.
your stuff. Mites
Yeah.
crawling all over your shit. I mean, I've
I
been to
watched a guy
Repticons
like
where
de-louse of the mites off of his
oh,
boa at the
oh,
Hufferata Garage show.
oh yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck this guy. In front of everybody, just like, I'm gonna scrape off the adults, like just like big, exploding,
Yeah.
full of blood mice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like Marshall, my nightmare vending at a show and getting stuck next to them. Indeed. More than the nightmare of him going to was that Pomona or San Diego you went to where it was where they had birds and Ramey put you right next to the guy with all the birds, so your whole display was covered in like feathers
dander.
and dust and dander and
Nice.
noise all weekend, and no one came to his table. Like no one. He's like, no one fucking came. I drove all the way to California from Colorado for nothing to have bird shit on me. And yeah, that was something. But yeah, you do end up with those people. You know, and in fact, at the very last local reptile show here in Slidell, the vendor that I'm talking about in particular actually had something negative to say about animals I sold them. And they happen to be baby Brazilians. And they happened to tell me that they all died and that I sold them all bad snakes. And I was like, dude, I brought you baby Brazilians to a Texas show and you bought them on the weekend. When did you give them water? You probably didn't even try till Monday,
Right,
in which case they were dead.
Right.
You didn't give them Sunday evening, like we told you. Take them home, give them water right now. Then they're going to die.
Right. That's why East Bay stopped breeding them. Right?
Wow. East Bay stopped breeding them because the fucking hypos that they had were so fucking weak because they were all running with Mike's original shit. They were all still running Mike's original stuff, and they had just saved back babies for like a decade. Right? And that I'm not going to lie to you guys. Hypo Brazilian rainbow boas are not like strong. Like genetically strong. They're not genetically strong.
And you think it's linked to the gene or linked to the line? Like another
I think it's linked to
allele?
No, I think now we're getting away from it. Okay. I don't think the problem is getting worse. I think the problem is getting better with all the other genes, with the albino, with the aneries, and with all this other stuff going on. I think the genes are getting outcrossed more. I believe East Bay's original lines that they were working with were the Lockwood. They were from Mike Lockwood originally. The very first ones, and it was the same ones. Like I remember Cliff showing me one there that was so fucking old she was white. And hypos don't turn that white until they get old. Like it had to be an old girl that's had baby after baby after baby to be white like that. And they just been like actually Reptile, yeah, you're one of those people that I'm talking about that would have previously vended a Repticon show, but that I know are actually pretty solid people that I would buy from with confidence. And that if I did see them at a Repticon today, I might equate them with less than quality animals because they were there. And it's sad because some places they just don't have anything but a Repticon.
Right. But
I
won't say any names, but there is a vendor at NARBC who not that great. I just walk right past, fuck off. There's actually a couple of them, let me be honest. But
well, sure, there's a few of them. Yeah, but I mean, are we talking like not that bad to where they're like they got wild caught shit on their table or like stuff
I don't mind
quality?
Wild caught if you just like either label it as such or worm it or whatever. But these are the people who are throwing away half dead gargoyle geckos in the trash for people to find. So is that cool? No. So
you heard me
I don't
talk
think
about
they should
the guys
be anywhere.
That would pull up outside the shows and unload their dead shit outside
right in the
crates,
garbage
can outside the door. You know, to where the admission buyers the very next day were smelling yesterday's rotten bodies in the can. Now,
right, it was classy. That made you want to buy live animals from that.
Yeah,
building,
and
I'm sure,
and certainly made me want to pay that show promoter to come back again.
It's not funny, but it's like depressing. Because there are like,
I mean, when you look
really
at a show like Kinley,
breeders who are doing really good job, right next to dog shit, and you're like, this was bringing the whole party
you're
down.
referring to would have been the Arlington show, So
and I saw some things there I didn't want to see, so
I'm sure
you did. Impressed.
I'm sure you did.
Lots of good breeders, tons of them, small, local, bigger, national, but there was some duds. I'm like, I don't want to see you at any show I go to. Please clear the fuck out.
Yeah, it sucks, and you would think that I don't know if I would believe a show like herps or a show like NARBC that tells you that they don't have a choice but to let those breeders in because they don't.
That's
have
what I'm saying. Like they're booked up. There's a waiting list. Could they not let those people in exchange for someone who's captive bred only or long-term wild caught only with, I don't know, a worming record or some shit? Like that would be cool for me.
Right. And look, I plan on talking about it a lot this Friday with Bob Vu. Because, old Vu's this Friday. And he's already assured me that he's not going to be somewhere else that he's not supposed to be other than right here this fucking Friday. I don't get 2 Fridays in a row off this week. And Ozzy has rescheduled for the 11th of whatever Friday is nearest the 11th of November. So we are going to have the Ozzy man come over after all. But, I want to talk to Bob Vu a lot this Friday about the buying and reselling of ball pythons, because you do know that Bob Vu got a very, very strong start by doing that, right? In the era of people calling flippers, which was called a jobber in my day. There was a lot of flipper is like a fucking dolphin. But or a swinger, if you're really funny and you want to call a swinger something silly, just call them a flipper. There's
a way to do it correctly though, and there's a way to fuck.
There's
it
a
up.
way to do it correctly, and Bob Vu did it and maintained a completely clean, clear nose. And look at him now; he's a fucking all-star ball pythons, and I bet none of you knew that he bought and resold his way up. I mean, granted, he worked in the insurance company and all that. He worked in the insurance industry and he made money outside of here that he could invest into the hobby. But that a lot of his animals were attained by flipping, if you want to call it that. And I actually was against it because of how many people. I wasn't against Bob doing it or me doing it or anyone else doing it. I was against the marketplace damning everyone for doing it, yet still worshiping Bob Vu.
Sure.
Because that happened.
I don't know anybody who didn't kind of flip at that time. A lot of people did.
No,
back in the day.
That's the time period that I did not flip because I was productive enough. But, I mean, a good part of my career has been flip.
Maybe you should have flipped. I don't know.
No, I'm glad I didn't flip because.
Well, I'm glad I would never have flipped because I can't handle like the disease risk of everything's fucking gross shit.
I wouldn't handle that, and that was the issue. Nido was going around, but it wasn't Nido officially at the time.
Right, it was burn disease or respiratory disease.
You wouldn't have fucking found me caught dead buying snakes from you and bringing them back here to profit from them. There's just no fucking way.
It's all luck, man. Like if someone did a good job doing that, it's survivorship bias that they got lucky, that they didn't get something.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk to Bob. I want to know if he had a good quarantine setup, a room for stuff like that, and then a room for his other stuff. And I just want to talk about it because I think that today's climate could really use some reselling. Could use more flipping. In the way of if your animals are represented more out there, you might sell them quicker. I don't know, man. I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing. I think that, like you said, it has to be done responsibly. It wouldn't be you doing it. It's not going to be me doing it. Not after what I know now.
Right. Well, I'm a big crybaby about like biosecurity, so like I'm out of any sort of good trajectory.
And the aquarium person in me, the reefer in me, says biosecurity. In my own personal system, not in a retail system. People would ask me that about my store. Do I quarantine? No.
Right, retail's different and weird, and I'm willing to make exceptions.
Consider me being a stock point. You should consider me being a stock point for every if, and but that there exists in a species. As a retailer, you know what I mean? Like as a full blown retail, not me.
Although
as by nature
I do think
there's some aquatics by nature,
some onus on a retailer to vouch their sellers for not being dog shit either. Like they're suppliers, because people don't.
Sure.
Obviously, your money's worth something, so like you could push.
I wouldn't I wouldn't buy a coral from someone I knew was a potential problem
or had weird worms in their live rock or some shit. You already know they're problematic. So
but you got to realize from the fish perspective, dude, 98% of all of your marine aquarium animals are wild caught. 98%.
Well,
if it's
a
not a
fucked up
clownfish,
industry.
if it's not a clownfish, it's not a fucked up industry. It's a fucked up ocean. We can't exactly breed everything in captivity. That's it.
I know you can't, but it doesn't mean it's not fucked up. A little bit.
Well, yeah, but for humans, from that perspective,
it's fine.
You didn't buy your first fucking Dion's rat snake from a breeder either. You could have gone, you would have got a wild caught one at some point. You wouldn't have been buying some good captive bred Dion's rat snakes. You'd be buying.
I guess my problem with like this is totally unrelated with the saltwater hobby is that the attrition rate is 100%. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Who finishes their
that was my point.
Career and all of their like foxfish and whatever are still alive. They are the ultimate male
who has a giant tang that suffers from cataracts.
Nobody.
Well,
like I worked at Petco, which doesn't count for shit.
But it's not.
But I did sell saltwater, and it was a travesty. I'm like, you guys should have.
Yeah, that's the Petco. That's saltwater Petco too, though. That's
bad. Well,
it doesn't get much worse than the saltwater in Petco.
No,
saltwater and PetSmart, but they just don't even do that. They don't even attempt to do that. They don't even try.
Right, that is correct. That is the right way to do it.
Yeah, most PetSmarts
between us killing them and the buyers killing them. I don't know if there's anything that I ever touched that was still alive. Except for
you want me to change the Monday night, motherfucker? Because what? He said that he forgot. He said, damn, this was tonight. I'm going to have to rewind after it's over. But yeah, dude, I don't get anything from you watching live. Just hit the like button and all that type of shit, Alan. He'd be good. But no, it doesn't need to change to Monday night. I like off-topic Tuesday. It works for me. Off-topic Monday doesn't work for me. A bunch of assholes on Monday. Whatever. If anybody else is on Tuesday that's not in this chat right now that I'm talking shit about your own production, like his probably, because I think, what, did you just come, Alan, you just come off your own production? Is that why you're here and telling me to switch to Monday? No, I'm not switching to Monday because if I'm at a reptile show, I might be traveling home on a Monday. I've already bad enough by locking in my fucking Fridays. But yeah, the Petco PetSmart dynamic is really, it's really nice.
Complicated.
That PetSmart doesn't bother with the saltwater shit.
Right.
All
right. I have a question, Sean.
Go ahead.
Why do you hate pipe and drape at the NARBC shows? I need to know. Tonight.
I don't hate pipe and drape at the NARBC shows.
I feel like I've been hearing about it for like 3 years about pipe and drape.
No.
Did it touch you? Show me on the doll where it touched you.
Show me on the doll where it touched you. No, okay. So I'm trying to recall what I bitched about pipe and drape.
It was an episode from a long time ago. And then recently, again, you brought it up. And I'm like, I'm not sure what the problem is. It's very sound dampening. And that was I was like, yes, this is the shit.
Yeah, that's always good. That's always helpful.
I can hold a conversation without screaming at someone. And it's not echoing around the room.
And I like, I don't know where you would have to bring me back to where I said I didn't like pipe and drape, because I actually like pipe and drape for how much separation it causes us for our banners and stuff.
I feel like 2 episodes ago, you were like bitching about pipe and drape again. And I was like, what is going on?
Was that bitching about double-sided banners?
Yeah, about double-sided banner, but you're like, but I also have pipe and drape, and you were mad about that again. And I was like, why is he mad?
I'm not mad about pipe and drape. I'm mad about pipe and drape when I go to a show and
you can't see
I went to Repticon. This is a Repticon thing, actually. Repticon does not put pipe and drape on any tables other than its end cap buyers. Do you know that they'll actually put up pipe and drape if you buy an end cap?
Oh, so they're special.
They will give you a drape background on your end cap. Now, I went to a Memphis Repticon, and the motherfucker behind me now, granted, there's a end cap on both sides of the aisle, and the pipe and drape is in the middle.
Right.
The motherfucker that was my back neighbor took the curtains down and hung his banner from the pipe and drape pipes. Like they put it there for his banner to hang on. And I was like, yeah, dude, you need to put that fabric back up. And he was like, no, that's not how I do it here. I do everyone in this location. This is the only one you've done. And I was like, this weekend, you're going to go get that fucking shit and you're going to put it up there. I'm going to rip your fucking banner down. Plain and simple. I will rip your fucking shit down. I will deface your double-sided banner if it intrudes in my space. I will deface your shit. I will spray paint the other side of your double-sided banner. If
so you
my
want
clients
pipe and
think
drape
I'm you,
applied evenly to all, so there's no like.
well, no, because
different.
then it cost, dude. You know how much cost it adds to shows to run pipe and drape in a show, and then how little
Right.
tables you have. Okay,
Right.
so here's what happens when you put pipe and drape in a show like Herps or a show like Reptile. You lessen the amount of tables that can fit in the venue greatly, and you increase the costs immeasurably. And so by that, you know, a show like Herps to get pipe and drape in it is like $4,000, $3,000.
Right, it's not
just
worth
to
it.
rent a pipe and drape in a lot of centers. Can you believe it costs that
Right.
much money to rent pipe and drape, and then to lose like 25% of your tables if you do it Herp style? So no, I have a bitch about just courtesy at shows in general. I think there's a lot of discourteous stuff at shows. I think when you put a fine ass Asian girl on roller skates in booty shorts and you put your name in the booty shorts across her ass and you have her ride around with your fucking ball pythons in the aisles in front of everyone else's
Is that
tables,
discourteous though, or is that?
I thought that was a little bit. I thought that was a little discourteous.
That one's tough,
especially
because some people just
especially
booties.
when that girl that I'm talking about came by my table while one of my helpers was working with a person. She told the person they had a better looking one on their table and took them
never
there.
mind. Well, there you go. That's
you were actually serious? Yeah. If you walk around in an aisle and you promote your business in an aisle, you deserve to get thrown out of the fucking show.
Well, what about like the shit where you like have to, I don't know, ambassador
stand in front of your table?
right in front of your table?
I interact in front of my table, but that's fine. That's your real estate. I'm talking about riding around the show when your table's on the other side of the show to bring business to your fucking table. And Brandon Bokey used to do that at Priceless Pythons with Kristen Tran. Kristen Tran and Brandon Bokey used to do it at every one of the Texas shows. They do it all the time.
The Herp shows or?
Well, Herp shows, yeah.
Herp
shows, not Repticons, but Herp shows, yeah, sure. Herp shows, NARB, any show that Kristen Tran went to, she did that shit. Every single time, every show she went to, we saw her do some shit like that. Somebody, you know, that's
a good way to give your snake
me to come over there and tell you
like,
something.
That's like a white trash move. For sure.
Yeah, it's a white trash move. For sure, it's a white trash move.
Like, my least favorite people are anyone with a loose snake roaming aimlessly between aisles, even if they're a vendor or a interaction person. Like, I want them taken outside shot, but I don't say that out loud.
Table are not okay. This is a family venue. Nudity of any type is not okay. In fact, half of the way some people are dressed half of the time is not generally all that okay. At local shows here, it's cool, but yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think we can always get the bitching, right? I mean, you've come to the Bitches podcast, right? I mean, that's this one right here.
I love bitching.
I probably complain more about it more about anything than even you guys do over there. But I mean, do you really feel what I'm saying though, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you do shows for a few years, it fucking pisses you off that you spend so much money and work so hard for somebody to discount your space like that.
Right. And take your space in any way.
Yeah. I went to a Tinley Park once where the pipe and drape stopped and the guy's banner started where the pipe and drape stopped. And his answer for me when I asked him why the fuck he could justify doing that to people, he said, because people always have such a hard time finding me in here. I'm like, bro, this is NARBC Tinley.
I know there's a map.
Advertise, bitch.
Right.
There's a fucking map. They don't care. I said, and so I told him, I said, there's a hacksaw in my shit. If by tomorrow morning, when I get here to my table, if your banner's not below the thing, I'm going to saw fucking 5 feet off the stand. Because it was PVC pipes he was using.
Did he have a back side to his?
Yeah, it was a double-sided banner.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a double-sided banner.
Well, that makes it look weird because then it looks like he has your side.
Oh, no, people kept coming to my table and looking up and saying, which one's you? With their camera.
Yeah,
which one's you?
Acceptable.
And so I went on it. I went on the other side and I told his name was Skip Riddle back in the day.
Is he still in the business?
Nah, I don't think Skip's he's still in the cattle business. He's not in the snake business. He thought he was going to make cattle money in the snake business. And there's a ball python guy that went all the way to Africa to find out that he couldn't make that kind of money. You know, he went all the way to Africa and bought Noah out of a season or two and everything. And he didn't make any fucking money. But no, he did that. And the next morning, he didn't lower it. And so I went to fucking going through the thing. And when he started his banner shaking because I wasn't in a wheelchair then. I was walking then. This is back to, actually, ironically enough, you know who could have backed this up? My next door neighbor at that show used to be Ben Rennick at that very show. Ben Rennick was my neighbor in the original Tinley shows, like against the very end wall. Now that wall has been knocked down and they've then added another convention center to that wall. But that very end wall, it was me and him. And Ben was like, man, I can't believe how fucking rude some people are sometimes. And I just was like, Skip, the fucking sign's coming down, bro. And I was like, if you want to get Brian Potter over here to tell you that that's okay, that's fine with me. But if you get him over here, he's going to tell you that's not okay.
Did you get Brian before the attempted felling of
no, I started
sign?
fucking shaking the shit. No, I didn't care.
Right.
I didn't care. I don't do that shit now because Brian and I have a much better understanding of each other. In other words, Brian's like, dude, don't pull your Bradley shit at my shows or I'll fucking throw you out. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You know, I appreciate that. But at the same time, sometimes those things have to happen. And honestly, I would hope any of you would do that kind of shit. You know, giant double-sided banners Friday. Yeah, you should ask Bob about his giant double-sided banners Friday. I'm assuming that means Daytona, Bob Clark Daytona show. Because, you know, in Tinley, it doesn't matter so much with Pipe and Drake. But I don't know. Do you do shows a lot, Jessica?
I don't know about a lot. Just like a couple a year.
Few
so
here and
far.
there? Which ones have you done? What circuits have you done?
So just the Pacific Northwest ones, which nobody knows about or cares.
There yet.
Right, basically.
Yeah, the Pacific
I'm
Northwest
doing
shows.
Show Me Show in the end of this month.
Yeah, and
I'm scared.
Mickey's had a tough time getting people in those shows lately. Too,
right,
though.
It's close by though, so it's like not like a trek.
It's close.
So if it
you
works
don't
out,
have to sleep in a hotel. That's the key. You can usually do good at any show that you don't have to sleep in a hotel.
Well, I did decide to get a hotel just for chuckles, but the hotels around here are like $4, so it doesn't.
Nobody goes to Oklahoma, right?
Right.
Oh man.
And I just don't know, like, if what I have will move.
Oh,
here.
Bob Vu about his giant double-sided banners, not Bob.
Oh,
Clark,
no.
Bob Vu. Oh, I don't know. I don't like double-sided banners. I'll bring it up to Bob. I don't like double-sided banners. I think it's skullduggery. I think it's some bullshit. I do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too cheap to get it printed on both sides. Maybe that's it. Seen the price of those double-sided banners. They're a damn bit more expensive. Right. But no, he does it at every show there. I know that he does a lot. I know that he does every show there. So I'm sure that he does it every show there. But let's see. ISO, your sticker is epic. Yeah. I'm guessing he's got a isopod sticker from isopods.com. I got to do a show with him on here one Tuesday. And so Ben, pick a Tuesday, any Tuesday. Let me know in like December or something like that. You're not much of a terrarium person, are you, Jessica? No, it's more of a snake box person.
I've flirted with a pet box before.
Yeah.
But my problem is they're isopod.com. The forward flies take refuge in a bioactive vivarium. So if you're trying to keep the population down because you don't want them transmitting crypto or whatever, you're always like fighting the reservoir that is your bioactive vivarium. Bioactive vivarium. So if you don't care about crypto or Nido or Arena or paramyxovirus, then go ahead and have a bioactive vivarium.
If you don't care about the health and welfare of your reptiles.
And that's not to say like you can't have like you're a pet keep and you're like, I'm gonna have my one fucking leopard gecko in a bioactive vivarium.
But you're saying a whole room full of them with multiple species involved is a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's a cross-contamination risk and I can't handle it anymore. So I killed all of it and I thought it was fine and fun.
Sucks being an academic, doesn't it?
And if I had like, dart frogs and they needed that to keep going, that's what I would do. But I would do a dart frog only room where dart frogs did dart frog stuff. But crypto is an absolute bitch and is 100% transmitted by forward flies. So your job keeping snakes, large amounts of colubrids, is keeping forward flies to the bare minimum you can. Because you can test for crypto, but you can never be 100% sure of those tests. So you need to keep the spread down. So I like estropods. They're really cool as pets, like individually as pets.
Yeah, I breed them as pets individually in their own cages. I don't even
just
care for them
in
as
terms of
terrarium cleanup animals. I keep them on their own.
Yeah,
own
they're
things.
very cool. I had clowns and fucking zebras and
yeah, I've got like fucking 35
a bunch of
different
shit,
species.
and they were
yeah,
cool.
Bad.
I just can't handle like in terms of like dealing with that complication and in the context of production. Like I can't guarantee anything with that reservoir for the forward flies. So.
Right. Yes, that's a good point. We kind of went down that pathway last Tuesday with Nick Markham when we talked about hognose and cryptosporidium in relation to hognose, and I was under the misinformed, that crypto was could potentially go from mother to baby via egg, and you say not proven or not true.
Well, if you ask a scientist if anything is, you could prove a negative, they would tell you to fucking go away. Because like you can't prove that it will, it officially never happens. You know what I'm saying? So like so the crypto is intracellular in the lining of the intestinal tract, right?
Okay.
But they don't always drop thick-walled oocysts, which are the oocysts that transmit the infection to other members of the species or different species. Sometimes they're dropping thin wall, which is like a self-reinfecting the host sort of reproductive state.
And anything can get crypto.
Yes, but some of them it's self-limiting.
Some are resilient,
so like
more resilient
like in mammals that we just get like a self-limiting disease illness and then it goes away. But some animals persist. But so if the mother is not distributing thick-walled oocysts at the time that she does oviposition, there's nothing on the surface of the eggs that could infect the babies. Could there be if all of that lined up? Yes, but there's no mechanism by which the parasite travels into the egg before oviposition. It would be like a superficial infection.
No different than ticks on ball python eggs.
Right. So, and you can, because UVB does deactivate some, not all, some of the thick-walled oocysts, you could prophylactically put your eggs under a UVB lamp.
You want to tell this gentleman he can hold a corn snake for longer than 2 hours before it gets aggravated? Dude, a corn snake would never get aggravated with you after 2 hours, and it would never need heat. You could actually feed the corn snake and let it lay on you, and it could digest. It would never need any extra environmental.
No, it's okay, Gray's family. But it's just
good.
Different flavors of things. But
yeah, that's it. I mean, honestly, I would tell you socializing any reptile for 2 hours is possibly irresponsible depending on where you're socializing it at, right? If the room is cold, if it's drafty, if it's whatnot, right? I mean, somebody could say that. I'm not saying
you're not paying a sufficient amount of attention, and then
they're too wiggly. And I could say that yes, they could be too wiggly. Yeah, like you said, a Netflix and chill snake. But Gray, if it wasn't us talking so much awesome shit here, would you have possibly fallen asleep right now? Because the ball python and the corn snake would be just as fucking gone in the couch if when you fell asleep. Well,
no, I think
sitting there. But thank you for piping up and saying that, though. Like, I appreciate your point of view on it. I do. But I want you to know that man, colubrid snakes can be incredible pets. Nothing like a ball python, but everything like a ball python in some way. But I get you. But airflow versus ventilation. Maybe that's
for forward fly
referring
prevention?
to the forward fly prevention. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, we know Jen Archer recommends putting pantyhose on any baby you want to guarantee, like on the deli or whatever, guaranteed does not have access to forward flies. And I agree. I just keep them in separate buildings. The babies are in one building. The adults are in another building. I've tested the shit out of them, but I understand that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? That's just how testing goes sometimes. But
now, would you think that the hognose had like it really hit hognose hard? Do you think it could ever hit corn snakes like it hit hognose, though? I don't think so.
It's hitting corn snakes right now as we speak.
But that hard, and a literally industry wide type of.
I don't know. I mean, it's almost like if someone.
I haven't seen it here in my collection at all. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it in my collection at all. I see it more on geckos than anything.
I don't want to be like, I have to
and
be
everything, but
vague, but 100% it's in corn snakes all the time. We just don't either recognize it or see it or talk about it enough. So
okay. No, I know. I can tell you over the years, especially in the years of me being in a commercial facility of producing, 1,500 corn snakes a year, that we definitely saw a snake go too far gone and then succumb to symptomatic.
Yeah. So
symptoms.
So it's really hard because, like, what if your line or the animals that you have somehow have developed tolerance for like the serpentis, like that version, but then you bring in a breeder animal and it has the varanus, which can get in either one. They don't care if they're in lizards or snakes. So then you could have an outbreak because you brought in one animal and they were all positive for one, but when it got like doubled up, it was like really fucked or whatever.
Okay.
So that can be responsible for it. It could be everybody was fine until everybody isn't fine because a bunch were moved or like collections were moved. Because a lot of times we see like, a precipitous event in association with moving because there's like maybe immunosuppressive function from everybody moving, having weird temps and heat. It's just like Nido, it's just like Arena, it's just like all of those other ones, but it's fucking worse because the oocysts are immortal.
Right.
And they can persist asymptomatic, undetectable in the animal for more years
than is moved by the forward fly.
Yes. So like, I kind of like the viruses because they die really good on surfaces that aren't ideal, that aren't host cells.
Okay.
Right? They're enveloped viruses. The oocysts are strong and immortal, and there's only so many things that take them out. So like when people fled boas to go to ball pythons to be like, I want to get rid of Arena, then they fled ball pythons into colubrids to avoid Nido. Well, you fled into the jaws of the worst one of all, which is Cryptosporidium, which is even more problematic. So
and even easier transmitted.
Yes,
easier transmitted through
on surfaces. You're touching stuff. There's poo everywhere because you have large numbers of animals. Like glove changes are critical, but it just feels like of those, I'd rather deal with Nido. No vertical transmission. And it relatively reasonable, like when they're positive, they're officially positive. Not as many false negatives. You'll have false negative for days with crypto, which is fine. It's just how the cookie crumbles for corn snakes and hognose and lizards.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really heard of it through corns. Like I heard of it through hogs because I think it hit a couple of the big hog breeders primarily. And I think it kind of took their knees.
Yeah, I've heard that hogs seem to be more susceptible recently. So maybe it's already gone through corns and we've sort of selected resistant individuals, but I've definitely heard of them dying now.
I want to talk more to my guest in a few weeks about this too, right? Because you saw me announce that I'm going to have Dr. Mark Mitchell from LSU, the professor of zoological medicine of Louisiana State University of Veterinarians, on this show. I've been friends with Mark for probably 15 years, and akin to this conversation,
expert.
What's that?
Is he a crypto expert, or what is his?
No. I just want to ask him more about it in reference to you too. Just in general, I want to discuss a lot of just reptile ailments like these. With him.
It's something I'm passionate about, and obviously
but you're very informed on it, and you understand it, and I think that's great. And I think that a lot of people in the space probably don't so much understand it. And do you think that like this could hit ball pythons and make ball pythons harder to deal with than Nido?
Crypto or Nido?
Yeah, crypto.
So crypto is already in ball pythons. Well, it's just ball pythons are better. They tend to be a reservoir species. So we've already heard of situations where the ball pythons in the collection gave it to the king snakes in the collection that were newly introduced.
Okay, and the king snakes failed to thrive from it.
Yes, so then they thought it was from the king snake seller, but it was not. They actually trace the lines back to the ball python. So that's like a known problem. So in mixed species collections, the bigger ones do a little better. So like you don't ever even know that they have it.
Wow.
There is like a treatment being talked about that actually may work. So that's cool. Thank God for that, because it's not a virus. It's a...
What is that? Like injecting muriatic acid into the veins of your reptiles and hoping they live?
No, it's some sort of... It's not like an antibiotic, but it functions like that. It's targeting them specifically. So it's promising. The publication isn't out yet. So that's...
Okay.
That's the only thing that keeps me asleep at night. Because I don't know really... Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to know, this is like why the podcast exists, is how does a collection of reptiles stay alive indefinitely?
No, genetically and to avoid these type of problems, these type of aberrations.
How many people do you know that got out mysteriously because they had a bunch of stuff die off and then they just sort of like, fuck this.
It wasn't a fucking mystery, Jessica. It wasn't a mystery at all. I know exactly why they got out. They got out because they either couldn't afford to buy it all back again, they didn't understand what went wrong in the first place, or they could never, ever, ever bring themselves back to the table of risk again after feeling
it's
so
debilitating.
Vulnerable.
Right.
Because it's debilitating.
Right.
Just
that
like
was me.
The person who lost their collection to a heat tape failure and it burned their fucking house down. Hey, look, if you're telling me I gotta go back to reptiles, I'm not gonna have to have heat. No, you're gonna have some forward heat. Well, that could turn into fire. Well, yeah, heat generally could cause a fire, you know. Oh, well, I'm not raising reptiles anymore then. Okay, enjoy the swimming pool.
Right.
All I can say is put in a pool, because that's not going to catch on fire. I mean, and if it does, and if the house catches on fire, you can always pump out the pool. I mean, what else are you going to spend your money on? Because at this point, it's like, wow, nobody ever told me this could happen. But then again, I opened an aquarium store, so I've already dealt with clients with ever. You know, how would you like to have a reef tank, Jessica, and have crypto, nido, and this times like 25?
Right.
And have only specific corals, have only specific pests that only eat those specific corals that don't eat anything else in the tank, but you can only find them on with a microscope. And you might not find them on every instance of one genus of coral in a tank. That's the size of our screen. You know, it this big. It's a piece of the ocean, and it has 25 or 30 different. Like, I've had 4 people in the last 48 hours message me and ask me if I had a microscope, because they need to identify what species of dinoflagellates they have in their aquarium so that they know how to treat them.
Does the dinoflagellate poison? I'm assuming poisons the corals eventually.
Dinoflagellates just smother the fuck out of the corals.
Okay,
they smother them. They web together up. You know, they all web up together.
Well, dinoflagellates what's make like the Red Sea effect, where they will.
Dinoflagellates and cyanobacteria are our 2 thankful environmental creating organisms.
Right.
And they both live and battle for your reef tank every minute of every day of your reef tank. Every second of every minute of every day. Dinos and cyanos battle for that. Who's going to make oxygen? Who's going to make, who's going to get the win? Carbon dioxide going to be more, oxygen going to be more. And they go back and forth in a trade-off, and it's all based on nutrients. The lower your nitrate, the lower your nutrients are in the water, dinos come like crazy. So if your water's super clean, if your tank is too clean, meaning your tank is too man-made, your tank is too contrived, dinos hit your tank like mites hit coconut.
Well, which one is worse? Like
they're like, you call this reptile shit? You call this reptile chip? I call this mite chip. This is the shit. And I don't just mean reptile chip. I mean any coconut, any cypress, any wood that's dark, that's conducive to an insect's life cycle. Like aspen is conducive to a dust mite. Not nearly as conducive to a black mite as to a dust mite, but it's still conducive to a mite. Not nearly as conducive as cocoa. Or maybe we just don't see them in cocoa as quickly as we see them in aspen. So the problems get far more blown out of proportion. But, I think a lot of these things have come into play too, because I think you and I could have a lot more podcasts, and we probably should dial this one out though. But we could have a lot more.
Nighttime.
Yeah, it's very nighttime.
If people want to think about biosecurity or trying to keep collections alive or having a functioning business while still keeping all of this in mind, even if it's hard and complicated and we don't know everything yet. That's what the fucking podcast is about. And we also talk about titties sometimes because that like brightens the mood. You know what I mean?
Sure, it does. It's reptile people. You have to talk about them a little bit. But thank you so much for being on this bullshit. I mean, we could go 0 to 100 the entire time.
We'll talk about that. I don't think we talked about corn snakes even once.
We don't need to talk about corn snakes all that much. We could talk about them on a whole. We can do a corn snake specific show where you could really get down on your opinion.
I just Miami Oketees, and I want to convince everyone to love them also.
Miami Oketees?
Yeah.
Are you making a joke right now?
No, they're the best.
They're the best.
They're the best. They're the best.
Yeah. Okay, so inherently, you really could make those two. You could make that thing.
I have that thing. Go on my Instagram. It's the best.
Are they really there? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
On your Instagram?
Yeah.
Is that what that was? That's what I thought it was. Is that
really
what it was?
It's the best thing.
It's the best thing.
It's a big bordered Miami.
I saw it earlier.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a wide border Miami. Yeah, it's a Miami Okatee. It's the two localities that never really existed in corn snakes, both existing in the same corn snake, guys. This would be like if a jackalope and a
I love jackalopes though, so it's all it works out.
What's the Mexican one?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra were the same thing. That's right. Where if you had a Mexican if you had a chupacabra, whatever I'm trying to say. This is definitely a beautiful, beautiful Miami corn snake. However, I dare you to post it on MorphMarket as an Okatee Miami.
Go look at MorphMarket right now under Miami and Okatee, and you'll see them. They're there.
Oh, really?
If it has more than
that's really what you're talking. But this is that what this is, or is this just a really wicked looking Miami?
No, it's a Miami. This actually Okatee. Is. So people breed Miamis, and then they'll breed in big borders, and they'll call them Miami Okatees as long as they have more than 2-ish black scales in the border, and they may not have any Okatee lineage. We're just using that to refer to the border size.
Okay, so now we have made a phenotypically defined morph off a locality based on how many scales wide its black is.
That's right. So there are two Okatees.
We want to be respected.
Locality
and we want to be respected.
And phenotype.
Oh my God.
Listen, corn snake people have been doing this for 10 years, 15 years without me.
Whatever you say, pal.
Look at it.
Whatever you say, pal. Look, hey man, Lee Abbott originally started with some Okatees, right? That he's then refined them outside of the hunt club for this many years. Therefore, they're no longer Okatees. Because the weather wherever he lives probably made them change color a little. It can't be a locality unless it fucking came from the locality.
Put Okatee into other stuff and made better versions of that stuff. So his Okatee aneries are
a reverse
totally
Okatee. An albino Okatee was never an Okatee because there was never an amel found in the hunt club.
Well, the red zeps count as a locality amel Okatee.
Oh?
Yeah.
I guess so.
But they're separate.
You really are on that. Yeah.
They're separate. But it's to me, it's okay. I don't give a shit. I'm into mutt boas. So we can have a locality Okatee. We can have a locality red zep.
Yeah, but who has a locality Okatee?
The red zep people do because they keep it going. They're all in fauna. They're all 400 years old, and you have to message them with a.
And I want GPS data on where in the hunt club it was collected.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but
from that club on that land in that lease. If it came from the street down the road, you
don't take the whole county, all Jasper County.
Yeah, of course, I take Jasper County.
I know. I take Jasper County in a heartbeat.
You take Jasper County, but that's not the name of it. I know. That name didn't last, dear.
How much Miami is in Miami at this point? It doesn't matter. It's all a farce. It's more like the phenotype that matters to Miami than the locality, because the shit that comes out of Miami-Dade looks terrible.
You should see the snakes I took pictures of today. This particular one. I don't have a picture I can just put up on the page. So I'm going to put my phone right up in the thing like that. Sun-kissed Miami stuff is so nice. I'll have to send you these pictures.
Smith stuff?
It is Walter stuff. Mm-hmm. This is Walter stuff. It is Walter stuff. I'll have babies from them this year coming.
Tim got the best of them. Did you know that?
Tim who?
Mangum or Mangum.
When? What year?
20. Whenever Walter was finishing up. I've seen Tim's like secret.
Okay, so
stash.
I bought Walter produced them in
and Russell got the other secret stash.
In 2020. Walter produced them. I bought the best
Walter
pair.
was out. Getting out in 2020.
I bought
right?
No. Walter's I bought all of Walter's production in 2021. Yeah. I bought Walter's entire production in 2021. And in
that
2020,
was last year. I feel like he had just like a tiny little bit last year.
Yeah, he did
sold
just have
most
a tiny
of it
little
the
bit,
year before.
and it was all super duper high end stuff. So if Tim and them got his stuff from the year before, I got my pair before they picked theirs.
Send me your money shot of the best Miami Tesser or Miami Sunkist. Okay,
I will.
Because the stuff that Tim showed me, I was like, "What the fuck is that shit?"
Yeah, it's insane.
Are yours het cinder? Is I guess the other question.
Nope.
Okay. Have you tested them?
I have an email. No, I haven't tested it, but I have an email.
You know, he gets accused of that a lot, right?
Miami
the cinder police come in.
Oh,
you know the cinder
that's a problem.
police.
Cinder's still good money, man. I mean, cinder stuff's still cool.
I can't move cinder to save my life. I love it though.
I love it. I think, dude, that the cinder. What is that one that looks like a gray rat snake?
Shatters.
Hybrid. It's like the shatter.
Shatter's my favorite.
Yeah, I have a wicked nice shatter that I picked up a few years ago. So yeah, we got a lot of nice, great stuff to talk about on a corn snake show. We'll do that again. We'll do it again. All right. So for tonight, this is it for Jessica Hare, Hare Hollow Farms, and the Holdback Rack Podcast. We're not going to say the better half. We're just going to say a significant half.
Probably the worst
of the significant half. We're not going to say the worst. We're not going to say the best of the Holdback Rack Podcast. I can't thank you so much for doing this. Like, this is so great. This was a fun time.
I'm glad it wasn't the worst ever.
No, I love you. I love the way your brain runs. I think it's great. I think you said a lot of shit on this show that half the people here listening for ball pythons don't even understand. Even the shit that pertain to ball pythons and big words you used and scientific academic things you said. And, all the reason why I only have less than 500 subscribers to this podcast is because no one wants to listen to this shit. So that's why no one.
Well, I'm not going to raise your rents any. I'm probably bringing them down. I mean,
no, you
raise them tonight.
No, fuck no. Are you crazy? We had more people in here tonight like this. Like, look, Julio here. I've never even seen him in this fucking chat. I've never even seen this fucking guy in this chat. So there, that's great. See, you brought him. You brought your Gray Family Snakes is great. I know he's been here, but whatever. I've had quite a few people here tonight.
Yeah, we have like a cadre of friends that are weird brains, the way our brains work. So that's all we need. Any 1 minute I can have in somebody's ear is a pleasure.
Well, I've enjoyed these 237 of them
minutes
that we've had now, or whatever.
Good job.
Not 237, but however many minutes that is. 2 hours and 37 minutes. That's how tired I'm getting because I've been in here working on stuff all day. Time to go. All right. Well, I will catch up with you later. Thanks a lot. If you can hang around for me for just a minute, just hang tight just a minute.
Yes, sir.
You're ready to rush off, but hang on. All right. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off like that. All right. Everybody tell her bye. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
I know it's late. All right. Thanks a lot again, guys. This shit goes overboard when we have good conversations. I'm not one to usually just get in there and shut them down, but this tonight has got to stop because I need upload space on the servers. So do us a favor. You do not know the fun shit that me and this woman talked about before she started here tonight. So please check out the audio only versions of the Ballsh podcast on every platform. I made a whole list of them on the thread yesterday or the day before. Don't forget that I uploaded the last 16 and a half hours of podcasting on Sunday that you guys might want to listen to again while you clean cages. And that's going to be it. It's going to be another great night down and another hell of a show. Good luck to the next person on the next show for being as good as this one. And that's really all I can say about that. So y'all have a good all night.